Well, thank you very much, and hello, Pennsylvania. Hello. I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible Commonwealth with the thousands of proud, hardworking American...
Love this video quality. If anyone can find a better video, then just drop a link.
...patriots that I have gotten to know so well. 2 months from now, the people of Pennsylvania are going to fire the radical left Democrats, and you are going to elect Doug Mastriano as your next governor. And you are going to send my friend Oz. He is a great guy. To the U.S. Senate, you're going to elect...
Didn't Trump say that Oz is going to lose? Like, there was some audio captured, or somebody said that Trump was like, yeah, Oz is going to lose.
An amazing slate of true America First Republicans to Congress, and we are going to end the Nancy Pelosi political career, the Biden political career. We're going to end it. Our country's going to hell. Our country is going to hell. This election is a referendum on skyrocketing inflation, rampant crime, soaring murders, crushing gas prices, millions and millions of illegal aliens pouring across our border, race and gender indoctrination, perverting our schools, and above all, this election is a referendum on the corruption and extremism of Joe Biden and the radical Democrat Party. If you want to stop this destruction of America, you must vote Republican. You got to get out and vote. As you know, this week, Joe Biden came to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to give the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by an American president, vilifying 75 million...
Uncle Chubbs, the video you're linking me, that is a better video, is from January 31st, 2022.
Citizens, plus another probably 75 to 150, if we want to be accurate about it, as threats to democracy and as enemies of the state. You're all enemies of the state. He's an enemy of the state. You want to know the truth? The enemy of the state is him and the group that control him, which is circling around him. Do this, do that, Joe. You're going to do this, Joe, right? I think Philadelphia was a great choice to make this speech of...
Little JQE there, gotta say.
Hatred and anger. His speech was hatred and anger. By the way, the next morning he forgot what he said. You saw that. They asked him about, oh, I didn't think I said that, did I? Oh, no. How'd you like the red lighting behind him like the devil? But Philadelphia was a great choice because the city is being devastated under Democrat rule. Devastated. Hate to tell you, we love Pennsylvania. I went to school in Philadelphia. What's happening to Philadelphia? 14 people were shot last weekend in Philadelphia, 14. And the fake news will go out and check. Oh, that's a lot of fake news. Whoa. That's a lot of fake news. Wow.
He's referring to the journalists in the front row. True, the press is the enemy of the people. You know. Yeah, he does this every rally. Yeah, like all the journalists here who are just trying to, like, you know, broadcast the shit that he says out here with bodyguards to make sure they don't get fucking murked in the parking lot.
Well, they'll go out and check the facts. 4 people were killed last weekend. At one point last month, 7 people were shot in the span of just 71 minutes. Philadelphia. This year in Philadelphia has already seen more than 1,400 people shot, including numerous beautiful little children. Last year, the city set an all-time murder record with 560 homicides. And it's on track to shatter that record again in 2022. Numbers that nobody's ever seen other than in some other Democrat-run cities. Armed robberies in Philadelphia are up.
Reminder that the highest rates of gun crime are in Republican states. High population cities are going to skew the numbers, obviously, because they're high population cities. But in terms of per capita in states, the red states have the most gun violence. And we also have far lower rates of violent crime in this country than we did in the 90s. It's on a downturn.
62%. Doug, you have to take care of this. You have to take care of this. And Oz will send you the goods. Send them the goods. You know what the goods are? Lots of police officers. That's what the goods are. Just recently announced, retail theft is up 59% from last year. There have been more than 750 carjackings this year. Anybody have a nice car? Because you're not going to have it long. More than triple the average for 2010 to 2019, and it's heading way up, heading up in other cities that are run by Democrats also. Instead of trying to demonize half of the population, Biden and congressional Democrats should focus on stopping the killing and the bloodshed in Philadelphia and every other Democrat-run city in America, where record death.
But they're not divisive. It feels like such a waste of time when they're like, Biden's so divisive, you know, and it's like, okay. Like, it feels like such a waste of time to even talk about it, you know? Because, like, obviously.
And destruction is taking place every single day. Biden thinks making America great again is bad for our country. Do you believe it? That was in his speech. MAGA. MAGA, he says we got to stop MAGA. That's when I defined it, because I don't think he knows what it meant. It means make America great again. We have to stop it. Stop MAGA. Stop make America great again. He thinks making America great again is a threat to our country. No, making America great again is great for our country. Great. There's only one party that's waging war on American democracy by censoring free speech, criminalizing dissent. You see that happening. Disarming law-abiding.
Yes, they're criminalizing dissent. They've even taken down a very fine site called Kiwi Farms. I've been told it's full of people who like me very much, you know.
Citizens, issuing lawless mandates and unconstitutional orders, imprisoning political protesters. That's what they're doing. Rigging elections, weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI like never, ever before. And raiding and breaking into the homes of their political opponents. I wonder who that could be. Republicans in the MAGA movement are not the ones trying to undermine our democracy. We are the ones trying to save our democracy. Very simple. Very simple. Very simple. The danger to democracy comes from the radical left, not from the right. Not from the right. This November, we're going to stand up to this rising tyranny of sickness, lawlessness, and death, and we are going to take back our country. We're going to take it back. Take it back.
Huh?
There could be no more vivid example of the very real threats from American freedom than just a few weeks ago. You saw it when we witnessed one of the most shocking abuses of power by any administration in American history. The shameful raid and break-in of my home, Mar-a-Lago, was a travesty of justice that made a mockery of America's laws, traditions, and principles before the entire world. The entire world was watching, and they're shocked. They're shocked. South American countries, numerous of them, their leaders said, could you imagine if that was ever done in our country, what the United States would be saying about us?
What?
The Biden administration invaded the home of their chief political opponent, who is absolutely destroying him and everyone else in the polls. I hate to say it. Even including the Republicans, but we love the Republicans. On a phony pretext, getting permission from a highly political magistrate who they handpicked late in the evening, just days before the break-in, and trampled upon my rights and civil liberties as if our country that we love so much were a third world nation. We're like a third world nation. They rifled through the First Lady's closet drawers and everything else. And even did a deep and ugly search of the room of my 16-year-old son, leaving every...
What is the implication there? Oh, wait, I missed it, man. This guy in the back right over here, he's wearing a Blacks for Trump shirt.
Everything they touched in far different condition than it was when they started. Can you believe it? The FBI and the Justice Department have become vicious monsters, controlled by radical left scoundrels, lawyers, and the media who tell them what to do, you people right there, and when to do it.
Is that the same black guy? Yeah, well, they literally do this. They do find, like, tokens to, like, put in the back here to increase the apparent diversity of the crowd. Of course, these Trump rallies are always, like, 99% white people. But yeah, they do deliberately do that, yeah. This video is 720p quality. Let me see.
Ladies to the United States of America.
This might actually be better. I don't know how to find what time it's at, though. How many minutes since he came out here? If it came out at like 1:29, so it's been like 14 minutes. So maybe if we moved 14.
Mission from a highly political magistrate. Search of the room of my 16-year-old son.
I think we found it. Okay.
Leaving everything they touched in far different condition than it was when they started. Can you believe it?
They did do a search.
The FBI and the Justice Department have become vicious monsters, controlled by radical left scoundrels, lawyers, and...
He was a lunatic, apparently. Blacks for Trump founder Maurice Simonet was part of a violent cult, according to a report. Yeah, I think I can... If you ever walked down a city street and saw someone standing on a box with a microphone screaming about the end of the world and government conspiracies, it honestly could have been Maurice Simonet. The 69-year-old black man. Holy fuck, black people age well. That's insane. Jesus Christ. No wonder the plot of Get Out happened. What the f***? Is former President Trump's biggest groupie and the founder of Blacks for Trump. This is a very editorialized story. I don't know how much I can trust this.
And the media who tell them what to do, you people right there, and when to do it. They're trying to silence me, and more importantly, they are trying to silence you, but we will not be silenced, right?
Phenomenal sentence structure there.
We will never stop speaking the truth. We have no choice because we're not going to have a country left. The evil and malice of this demented persecution of you and me should be obvious to all, and it is. Even media companies that are pretty far left have come out and said, we can't believe this is happening in the USA. We are being assaulted by the same group at the FBI and DOJ that just a few years ago declared no reasonable prosecutor would charge crooked Hillary Clinton after she set up a secret illegal server to hide her family's pay-for-play schemes, crammed it full of classified information, allowed it to be plundered by foreign hackers, you know that happened, and then deleted, acid-washed, 30,000 emails, think of that, 30,000 emails, and what else did she do? Boom, with a hammer, smashed her phone systems to smithereens after receiving the highest level of support.
You know, Hillary Clinton, always cringe, always trying to stay hip with the kid. She's acid washing her surface. Those tie-dye emails.
Subpoena from the U.S. Congress. Think of that. Think of that.
I'm thinking about it.
The same people, the exact same people, are sending the FBI storming through the home of their #1 political rival. It's a disgrace like possibly never before. Our country's never seen anything like it. They talk about documents not being properly stored, yet they go in and take documents, dump them on the floor, stage a photo shoot, and pretend that I had done it, like I had put them all over the floor.
he still thinks that with the when the Mar-a-Lago documents were laid out so that the feds took a photo of them, that they were implicating him for the crime of having them spread out. Like he still seems to think that they're accusing him of having the top secret documents on the ground instead of just having them at all. Okay.
They took that back after a lot of prodding. Then they put out for public consumption a picture which is seen all over the world. This is what they do. It's called disinformation. These are very dishonest, sick people. Very dishonest people. Americans are sick of the lies, sick of the hoaxes and scams, and above all, sick of the hypocrisy. But our opponents have badly miscalculated. This egregious abuse of the law is going to produce a backlash, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. Before our very eyes, our beloved country is being taken over by
This is legitimately scary. The stuff he's saying is like actually on shit. Yeah, I know. The reason why I'm not pausing that much is because I'm listening out for anything that's new, because he says stuff like this in every speech. He is a fascist. All of his speeches are going to hit on the exact same points. There's a nefarious conspiracy of deep state operatives that are trying to destroy all of us. They want to destroy and eliminate and kill all Republicans, but I'm in the way. I'm standing in the way. Our glorious people's movement is going to upturn the rocks in D.C. and restore the will of the people. And, you know, add in a bunch of nationalism, nativism, and reactionary politics. It's pretty standard fascist stuff. I'm just saying, you know, I'll comment on any deviances.
The very people who turn democracies into dictatorships and into, ultimately, ruination. They think they can divide us, but they can't. They can't divide us. They can't divide us. The MAGA movement is the greatest in the history of our country. And maybe in the history of the world, maybe in the history of the world. In any event, we have no choice. We are trying to save our country because such bad things are happening to our beautiful, beloved America. We will make America great again. I will never turn my back on you.
These are also generally extremely repetitive speeches. There's a reason why Trump speeches go on for 2 hours and Biden speeches go on for like 20 minutes. And it's because, you know, they follow the exact same formula of him whining about something or talking about how he would have done something better for like 10 seconds. And then he brings that back to the 20-second, but we're going to do better, MAGA, you know, so on. And then the crowd claps for 15 seconds. And then he pauses. Then, like, it goes on like that.
And you will never turn your back on me because we love our nation. And we will save our nation from people who are trying to destroy it. It was not just my home that was raided last month. It was the hopes and dreams of every citizen who I've been fighting for since the moment I came down the golden escalator in 2015, wanting to represent the people, wanting to stop the massive corruption of our country, and determined to finally, in this world, put America first. I want to put America first, and we did. We did. We did. There's never been a period of time, both before COVID, or the China virus, as we say, and after COVID. From that moment on, I became the enemy of the Washington swamp. For 6 years, the radical Democrat Party, the rhinos, the media, and the deep state have tried relentlessly to stop me and you. First, they fabricated the Russia scam. You saw it was a total fabrication. Now they all admit it.
They don't admit it. It's, the only people who admit it are lefties, and when they do so, they're wrong. I have no idea why the lefties bit the bullet on this one when they didn't have to. But the Russiagate stuff was true. There were produced dozens of indictments, multiple arrests. There were people in his campaign that were directly colluding with Russia, and we know the Russian state spent millions actively propagating disinfo for the specific purpose of getting Trump elected. It was all true. The only thing that ended up not being true, the main question, was whether Trump himself had ever colluded. And it turns out he didn't, or at least we never found any evidence of it. It was just powerful people around him, which is, you know, a pretty convenient legal defense, right? Like, as long as he doesn't personally dirty his hands with the business. he can't be implicated. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen, you know?
Then we had impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and now these same exact people at Justice and the FBI, the same people, along with outside scum, are at it again with the horrific raid of my home. They just go on, and they have to be stopped. We have to spend time on our country, not on defending ourselves against scams. Thank you. Think of it about Russia and the Mueller. No collusion, right? Came in, no collusion. That was
For him. Him specifically.
your decision after 2.5 years, no collusion. I could have told them that after the first hour, and they could have said that because they had the laptop from hell, which had everything, so they knew immediately. But it went on. But think of this, you know, and I tell this story on occasion, very seldom, because it's too sad to tell. But I tell this story because it's very important. Russia was a hoax. It was developed by Hillary Clinton and a group of people, small group around a kitchen table, as a way of explaining why she lost an election that a lot of people thought she would win, because the Democrats have an advantage in elections because of a lot of things, aside from the fact they cheat like hell. So when they lost, Hillary Clinton and her people and guys like Adam Shifty Schiff, Watermelon Head,
they're like children. God, it's like codename Kids Next Door with their...
Watermelon Head, he's a perfect. He's a watermelon head. But no dummy. But think of this. Think how bad they are. Think how evil they are. You're all fathers and your mothers and your children of great people, and all of the people are represented here. Think how bad they are. They make up a story that's false. It's now been admitted to be false. The FBI is the last one to tell us that. But it's now admitted, even in the newspapers, even by the people back there, they will not fight it. They make up. Now think of this. But think of this. So they make up.
Yeah, that guy's standing backwards, so the Bikers for Trump logo is showing. I don't know why he wouldn't have just put it on the front of the vest so he could look normal instead of like he's turning his back and is president. I'm guessing he also runs this org. It's like this desperate grifter pledge that if you can get behind Trump for the speech, that like your t-shirt can sell your particular brand of schizophrenia, you know?
Up a story about Russia. Just so you know, I was tougher in Russia than any president by far. I'm the one that stopped Nord Stream 2, the pipeline. I'm the one that did the big sanctions. And I guarantee you one thing, Putin was not going into Ukraine. I guarantee you that.
One of the first things that Trump did was lift sanctions on Russia after he attained power. And there was even some contention within the Russian government as to whether he would do this. And apparently one of the reasons why the Russian government wanted Trump to win was because they had gotten the impression that he would have eased up on the sanctions.
I guarantee you. Nobody was tougher than me, but I also got along with them. And that's a good thing. You know, getting along with other countries is a good thing, not a bad thing. But think of it. So they make up a story, Russia. It was made up so that when they lost, they could say, it was Russia. I'm saying, what the hell did Russia have to do with it? It was Russia. Okay, so Adam Schiff knows it's a fake story. He made it up with other people. They know it's a fake. And I see Adam Schiff go solemnly to the microphones in the Capitol building and stand there so sad and say, Donald Trump Jr. will be going to prison because of what he did with Russia. Now think of it. He knows the story's a scam. He knows the story's a fake. And he wants my son, who's a good kid, he wants my son to go to prison over something that they made up, that they know is a phony story and has now been, as they say, fully debunked. In other words, it was a totally, and he's standing before microphones with many of those people standing there, and they can't get enough, saying that my son is going to prison. And I then call my son, I say, Don, are you okay? What's going on? What's going on? Think of this if you're a parent. Think of it. My son's going to prison on something that they made, which is a total hoax. These are bad people. They're trying to destroy our country, and we can't let it go on any longer because we have too much work to do.
It's incredible how his behavior doesn't even approximate human behavior, but people still like him.
Attorney generals, These state attorney generals, if I fly over a state, they send me before a grand jury. There's Trump, he's up there. Let's see, what can we do with a grand jury? I've been going through this for 6 years now. Local Democrat DAs, county prosecutors, congressional committees or federal agencies, the radical Democrats are engaging in a desperate attempt to keep me from returning to the White House where they know I will clean this mess up again. They want to stop us from completing our mission to bring back American values, secure America's borders. Millions and millions of people are pouring into our country. Nobody has any idea where they're from. Last month, 129 countries were represented. They're emptying their prisons into the United States of America.
What?
They know we'll continue to fix America's trade deals, continue to lower taxes. Nobody gave tax decreases like Trump, bigger than the Reagan cuts.
What?
And lower regulations.
Not true. Again, the tax cuts only persisted for the wealthy. They did not persist for the middle and lower class.
That created all of those jobs, defend and protect our police and our military. We have to protect our police. You know, our police want to protect us. They're stymied from doing it. We have to protect our police. They know we're going to reclaim our energy independence. We're going to save our Second Amendment, which is under siege. Rebuild our manufacturing base, just like I was doing. In other words, they know that we're going to make America great again. You know, we had a different saying because after we did so well, we were all set. And we had a statement, remember, keep America great. But after they destroyed it, I'd love to use it. But I must say, there's nothing like MAGA. Do you agree? There's nothing. I don't know, Doug. I don't know, CAG. CAG wasn't the same as MAGA. CAG, keep America great. The problem I had, though, wasn't the fact that CAG can't compete with MAGA. The real problem I had that we can't use the word keep America great because they've destroyed our country. So we can't keep it great because it's not great right now. Our country is a laughingstock. Our leaders are a laughingstock.
Remember what I said? Remember what I said about Biden unironically being more of a patriot? I said this during his speech. That fascists have to project the existence of a perpetual crisis. So when they talk about America being great, they're referring to some kind of imaginary conceptual America where everyone is white and middle class. You know, white picket fence, that kind of thing. No brown people or anything, or out of sight, out of mind. But when they talk about America today, which does have brown people, you know, evidently, there's even one on frame right now. Then this is the America that's shitty and terrible. So Biden, Democrats, liberals, they're always going to be more optimistic about, you know, more of a champion of the country as it actually exists.
You know, we just sent another $13 billion to Ukraine. That gets us close to $80 billion. Now, well, it angers me more for a different reason. It would have never happened before. Putin knew he wouldn't have done it. He said, Vladimir, you're not going to do that, Vladimir. He knew that. He knew it. He knew it. But he did it as soon as the election was rigged and it was considered over. I don't know if it's ever going to end if you look at what's gone on, because more and more facts are coming out, like the FBI with Facebook the other day. Can you believe? But you know what? Our country, it would have been so inappropriate to say keep America great, because who the hell wants to keep our country the way it is right now? I don't.
The funny thing about this is that Republicans will accuse Democrats of hating America when they say that America needs to change. You understand the hypocrisy here? When people on the left will say, like, you know, we should improve this or that or the other, there's this feigned offense from Republicans who act as though the way things are must necessarily be the right way, but they don't like the way things are either. It's a completely dishonest attack from them.
But together we have easily beaten every single witch hunt in the past. Think of that. But the time and the money and the effort it takes. And now we will likewise do that in the future if they continue their craziness. And if they don't stop, that's all they're good at is disinformation. They put out disinformation. You know, when I heard about Russia, was right after I came down that beautiful golden escalator. First lady, I said, you'll be a great first lady. She has been a great first lady. She's been a great first lady. They love our first lady. But people would come up to me, this was right at the beginning, and Right after the escalator ride, the people go, sir, do you know anything about Russia? No, young guys come up, beautiful staffers. There are a lot of them here right now and here, all over the place, that just came up to me. You won Pennsylvania by a lot, sir. That's right. You're right about that. Doug, I think at 9 o'clock in the evening, we were 950,000 votes up with 73% of the vote cast. All of a sudden, around 3:02 or something, the equipment closed down. It all closed down, and then you had that massive spike. Remember the spike that went to heaven and came back? It should have gone to hell and come back.
So what he's referring to here is when there was no equipment closing. It was just when districts started adding in the mail-in votes that were counted. As everyone was aware, and as everyone had been informed months in advance, most districts would count the in-person votes first, which rolled in over the course of the day, and then they would go over the batches of mail-in votes and would input those. And because Democrats were disproportionately likely to put in the mail-in votes because they were more concerned about in-person vote because of COVID, that tended to lead to big spikes. But there was nothing suspicious about it. It was the most thoroughly scrutinized election possibly in all of human history. That's not a joke. It really actually probably was. And no voter fraud. Literally none. Think, if there was voter fraud, don't you think the Republicans would have found it? It's not like they didn't have hundreds of millions to spend. You know, if they could have actually found it, it would have been huge for them. But they didn't. Despite their best efforts, despite their, the many dozens and hundreds of accusations of voter fraud and stories associated, which all turned out to be hoaxes, time after time after time. Debunking those live was exhausting because every day there'd be 50 new evidence of voter fraud examples that he come up with, and of course, inevitably, all of them would be found to be false. If there was actual voter fraud, they would have found it. Lord knows they were looking. Oh, right, sorry, there was voter fraud. There were Trump supporters who were arrested for voting for Trump multiple times. My bad, I forgot.
And all of a sudden, we were tied, and then all of a sudden, we lost by a whisper, a rigged election. But the people would come up. Some of them are here. Sir, it's such an honor to meet you, sir. Sir, could I ask you a question? Yeah, what is it? Do you know anything about Russia? I say, no, not really. I know probably less than you know. But I have a lot of common sense, and I know how to defend our country. And I'll end up being friendly with them, and we'll be...
I mean, he's literally done business deals in Russia. Like, he has a hotel, doesn't he? Millions and millions of dollars invested in Russia at that time. Remember, Trump refused to divest from his businesses. It's tradition for American presidents to divest from their businesses before they assume office. That is to say, if they own any businesses, like they leave, they no longer own, they give up control of businesses, because the fear has always been that presidents could use their political power to enrich themselves. And then Donald Trump just didn't divest and did that. He just did that.
Just fine. Then a month later, another one came up. Hello, Uncle Sam. Look at it. Stand up, Uncle Sam. Great people. Great people. Then a month later, another young person came up.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm.
And I was very, actually, it was cute.
Hands.
He said, oh, sir, it's such an honor. We talked for a couple of minutes. He said, sir, can I ask you one question? It's been bothering me. Yeah, what is it? Do you know anything about Russia? And then again and again, and after about 5 or 6 times, do you know anything about Russia? I looked at my people, my top people that are a little older. I said, what the hell is going on with Russia? This is all I knew. What was going on? It was a scam. And we took 2.5 years.
Does the story have a point? You haven't listened to a Trump speech before, have you, son?
To win. But all of that time and effort and money and the corruption and the people that were in charge of that scam are horrible. And they're the same people that we have now. They never leave. They never leave. And if we would have had an attorney general with courage instead of somebody that was afraid to be impeached, sir, I don't want to be impeached, we would have gotten to the bottom of it very quickly. And we've been waiting for Durham for a long time. Durham, please come in and give us your work, please. Durham, we got to get Durham going here. But this battle is not about me. This is a struggle for the very fate of our republic. Our movement is fighting against a corrupt group of unelected tyrants who believe they can wield absolute power over you with the help of a willing and very corrupt media. They think the deep state not the citizens, should be the true masters of this country.
So if you can listen to this and think like, are there any Nazi parallels to this rhetoric? Like, is there any way at all that this maybe is exactly what they said in basically every way? You know, something to keep an ear out for.
On our watch, we will never let that happen, and we will never let it happen, even though we're going to be gone. We're going to set this country up so strong and so powerfully that we may not be here, at least some of the older ones, and I love you all, but we're going to have the country set up properly, like it was before the COVID came in, before the China dust came in, and even after we handed off, where we had a higher stock market, because we did it twice, but we had a higher stock market on January 20th than we did. Think of it, the so-called handoff. I hate to even use the term. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous to have to use that term. But the handoff, we handed it off. The market was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming into our country. We did an incredible job, incredible job. But we have no choice in 2022 and 2024. We have to smash the grip of this vile and vindictive political class. We have to clean house in Washington, D.C., and we have to restore government for the people. Thank you. And if we do not, our republic and indeed our country will be destroyed, and we will never be able to do what is called a comeback. You won't be able to do it. It'll never come back again. It's so fragile, you know? It's so fragile. You will never bring it back again. You remember in the campaign, I used to say, if these people get in, we're going to end up with Venezuela on steroids. I said it many, many times. I never thought it was much of a possibility, but I never knew people could cheat like that. Not like that. Last week, weirdo, he's a weirdo, Mark Zuckerberg came to the White House, kissed my ass. Kissed my ass. Sure, I'd love to have dinner. Sure.
Yeah, this is cementing my opinion. I feel like, okay. You know how if a United States citizen signs up as a soldier, if they enlist, they lose certain legal rights? It's like how for a court-martial, like, you don't have the same set of legal rights you do as a citizen. When you're a soldier, like, you're giving up some stuff, you know? I think that if you're an elected official, you should give up some stuff. And some of those should be First Amendment rights. I believe that. I think that if you're a public official and you make claims that are insurrectionist or like broadly delegitimizing of the democracy that you're in, I think that you should have to, you nut up or shut up. You should have to prove that in a court case. I think that should be that should be settled in criminal court, a fair court with a fair trial. And if you lose, you have to shut the fuck up about it. Otherwise, it'd be treated kind of the way that like defamation or libel would, where if you if it's determined that you're like acting in bad faith with these claims, then you'd be acting with grievance and you could be, you know, further prosecuted for it. Are there ways this could be abused? Yes. If I had more time and also some lawyers next to me, could I think of more caveats or specificities, you know, to levy here? Yes, absolutely. But keep in mind that a lot of what Republicans have done already meets the definition of sedition in a legal sense. So it's not as though they aren't already constantly tripping over the boundaries of the law. We just don't really have a response to this. Like, what do you do if political officials and elected leaders just use their power to lie broadly and basically just openly subvert the democracy? We don't really have anything. Again, a lot of our system just relies on gentlemen's agreements. A lot of our system just relies on the assumption that everybody operating within it will be acting in good faith. But if people are willing to openly act in bad faith, then that just no longer applies. And you need to have like backups, because otherwise, whoever is the most bad faith first wins, and that seems like a pretty fucking bad democracy.
I'd love to have dinner. I'd love to bring my lovely wife. All right, Mark, come on in. Sir, you're #1 on Facebook. I'd like to congratulate you. Oh, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it. Weirdo Mark Zuckerberg confessed that in 2020, the FBI went to Facebook and the media and gave them the false narrative that the Hunter Biden laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, even though they knew that was not true. So they went and they said it was Russian disinformation. By the way, the guy that came in with that stuff just got fired. He perk-walked. He was perk-walked out of the FBI on Friday.
So what he's referring to here, I think, is that Facebook censored the Hunter Biden laptop story when it came out. as part of a broader policy against election misinformation, which they were in contact with the federal government over, like in terms of like what could be done to cut down on it. To my knowledge, I don't remember seeing any evidence of the Fed specifically saying, yeah, shut that info down. Only that it, it fit within the purview of election misinformation, which of course it did. Because there was a ton of misinfo. Yeah. Remember how initially everyone was saying there was a ton of CP on that laptop? What happened to that claim? People sure shut up about that, didn't they? The only thing that ended up being proven was that Hunter Biden has a fat cock and he likes beautiful adult women and cocaine. Okay, great. So now you've made me jealous. What? Okay, fantastic. Well, okay. So much of that stuff never got verified, but a lot of it was objectively election misinformation to begin with, And even if all the worst of it was true and Hunter Biden was some kind of, pedophile or whatever, still don't know how exactly that's an attack on Joe Biden unless Joe Biden did something to cover it up or whatever.
But that doesn't help us and the election of 2020, does it? That doesn't help us. They perk-walk him because of all the things he did, so many more than what we're even talking about. The FBI made it clear that they did not want the truth about the criminality and influence peddling of the Biden family coming out before the election, because that would hurt the chances of Joe Biden, who virtually never left his basement, winning the election. He came to Philadelphia, as you know. You know how many people they had? Almost nobody showed up. And we have a lot of people in this place. And a lot of people.
So many people that have cut the bit rate.
And we're not even talking about all the people outside that couldn't get in because you have better real estate, right? We got a lot of people outside watching. I hope they're watching we put screens up outside. This place, I think it holds 12,000 people, so it was sold out in about 15 seconds. And I said, what are we going to do for the people that can't get in? That's why a lot of times I like fields, because fields you can just keep having them. In Alabama, we had 66,000 people. Think of this. Outside of Houston, Texas, we had 89,000 people show up. Think of it. But what the FBI did was corruption and election interference on a scale that we have never seen before in our country. According to pollsters, it made a 10 to 20-point difference, not even including all of the other totally determinative evidence of illegality that was found having to do with the 2020 presidential election scam.
None.
Including ballot stuffing and not adhering to the laws, rules, and regulations.
So stuff like this, right? Like, basically, the claim would be you're defaming the process, right? So, like, you can, if you're found to be maliciously lying about somebody in a way that causes damages, you can be sued for libel or for defamation. And that's a good thing. Free speech isn't of much value if there is complete legal equality between things that are untrue and harmful and things that are true and beneficial. I mean, obviously, that's not, like, the point, right? The point should be the prioritization of good, helpful speech. Otherwise, like, why would we even care about free speech at all? So what he's doing right here, I mean, don't you think a fair argument could be made that this is a kind of defamation of the government? Because now, this wouldn't be like if anyone says anything bad about the government, you could be, no, nothing like that. If you're an elected official or former elected official, and you're saying stuff that's provably wrong, you can be brought to trial for it. And if it's shown that you're wrong about it, you have to shut the fuck up. That way, even if you're doing your little white lie bullshit as part of your campaigning, like, until you're called out in it, you don't have to shut the fuck up, And then after that, you would be held to a higher standard of scrutiny. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like, I'm spitballing here, but, like, we're kind of up against the looking glass right here, Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? We can't just let shit like this happen. We can't just let democracy die because fat bloviating billionaires are willing to lie about it, and they have enough backing in, like, corporate media to get away with it. Like, we can't just let good things die because we're too unwilling to attempt some kind of reformist approach to defense. It's like your city's being attacked by fucking orcs, and you need wood for shields, but you have, like, some 87-year-old law about which sections of the forest can or cannot be harvested for lumber. And you're like, well, yeah, like we could harvest that wood, but you know, like it's like, no, I don't know. Priorities, right? Priorities.
Of state legislatures, which is totally illegal. They just did whatever they wanted to do. And frankly, Republicans locally that ran things in a lot of states should be ashamed of themselves. Should be ashamed of themselves. And a guy like Mitch McConnell, who allowed this stuff to happen, should be scorned. He should be scorned. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and now our country is being destroyed by people who got into office through cheating and through fraud. Now watch. The cameras will all turn off as soon as I say that, because they're not allowed to put that on. The cameras...
The crazy thing is that a lot of the people watching probably believe that because they only like listen to Trump. They probably genuinely believe that the media is some kind of like hyper coordinated black bagging 1984 dystopia. You know, if the media wasn't allowed to show Donald Trump claiming the election was rigged, then they would have never been able to show him on the media at all. Like what they wouldn't be allowed to show him. Like what else can we cover from him?
They'll all turn off. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. You know why? But Republican leadership just doesn't fight because in many cases, they are intimidated and they're afraid. They're actually afraid. Republicans must get tougher and stronger and fast.
By tougher and stronger, he means more willing to attack the Capitol and more willing to subvert democracy. That is what he means. No, absolutely no ambiguity about it. The strength that he's referring to here, in juxtaposition with him lying about the election results, is the strength to overtake the democracy, the strength necessary to impose fascism. There is no other interpretation of this.
By the way, I'll tell you a guy that fought. In fact, that's why he's here today as your nominee. Doug Mastriano. He fought. He fought. But he was dealing with rhinos and all sorts of crap. But Doug, you fought like very few people fought. That's really why he's here, because everybody saw that he fought. You know, after people figured it out, they all ran on the basis of, we're going to...
Doug Mastriano is losing in the polls right now, by the way. Funnily enough, the good guy here, the blue, is named Shapiro. So this is the famous Democrat Shapiro. Getting on out there. Was the latest poll really from August 25th? The latest aggregate, maybe? Oh, wow, it really was. Wild. Oop, Joe Biden's approval is still climbing. Oh, shit, guys. Oh, shit. You see that? Still going up. And these probably don't even factor in the, No, the last update here was from the 2nd of September. This doesn't even factor in the Dark Brandon speech.
Stop, but they were not there. He was there at the beginning, and the people understood it, so it's a big deal. And by the way, I saw a poll today, Doug, that you're tied.
Whoa, what is this from? Why did Donald Trump's approval rating plummet recently? Oh, this cuts off at January 20th. Wait, I'm sorry. This polling cuts off at January 20th. No wonder. Obviously. But okay, yeah, sorry. I thought this was wait, why would you show me this? Okay, yeah. Well, obviously it cuts off there, you know. Here. I need to pee. Just I know what he's going to say, so just
or up 1 point. Just so you know, again, all they do well is cheat on elections and use disinformation. So when he's running, he's got a big base, and he won by a lot. He won by even more when I endorsed him, but that's okay. But he won by a lot. And you know what? They said, this guy Shapiro, who's a lightweight, they said the following. They saw he was going to win, he was doing well, he was way up, and he had a big base, and they don't like that. So what do? The one we really want to run against is Doug Mastriano. That's the one. Well, they say that on every time they have somebody that's going to kick their ass, they go out and they say, the one we want to run against. The one person they didn't want to run against is Doug Mastriano. It's disinformation. True. I kept hearing it. I'd be out, I'd see the people going crazy for Doug, for his incredible wife. But it's true. True. He was right there from the beginning, day one. You had to fight the Republicans and the Democrats. You had to fight people. American elections should be determined only by the American people. And that did not happen in 2020. And I'm just talking to FBI, but there are many, many other things. We won't go into it. The Mar-a-Lago raid was a desperate effort to distract from Joe Biden's record of misery and failure. The many disasters that our country and the world are now suffering would never, ever have happened if I was in the White House. You all know that. All of this stuff wouldn't have happened. You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage Joe Biden has done to our country in less than 2 years. They could not have done it.
And they fully believe it, by the way. Please keep that in mind. They fully believe it. Reality has nothing to do with the perception and thoughts of a Trump supporter. There's no relationship between these things. He could say anything. Donald Trump could stand there and just say, Joe Biden has killed more Jews than Adolf Hitler could have ever dreamed of. And they would cheer, and they would agree with him. They would believe that. And then the conservatives across social media, all of the pundits and politicians and grifters, would come out and talk about how that's actually true. And they would just start saying it's true. Yeah, that's it. Completely and fully. There's nothing here. There's nothing of value here. The elimination of this speech is not an anti-free speech perspective. There's nothing here. It's white noise.
2 years ago, when I was in office,
Oops,
gas was $1.87 a gallon.
No, it wasn't. What? There was like one day, because of the COVID pandemic and nobody was driving, that gas was crazy cheap, in theory, in like the world market costs. Not, yeah, okay. Sorry, I was in LA at the time, and no, it wasn't.
And we weren't talking about going to all-electric cars, which are twice as expensive. I mean, the problem is, a friend of mine wanted to do something for the environment. He went out and bought a electric car. And he made a certain trip, I won't say from where, Kentucky. I won't say from where. And he's a good person. He wants to do what's well. Now he understands. Not so good. And he bought an electric car, and he made the trip often from Kentucky to Washington, and he made it, and he'd drive down and put the car away and drive back. He was getting like 38 miles a gallon, and it was fine. And then he goes to hybrids and all the other things they can do.
38 miles to a gallon for an electric car? I think you'll get higher than that because it's an electric car. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Gallons and gallons of electricity. Yeah, I don't know. I assume he means a hybrid. I assume what he means is that it was a hybrid car. But for a hybrid, I don't think 38... Hold on. Hybrid miles per gallon comparison. EPA fuel economy for new hybrid vehicles, about 52 miles per gallon. Yeah, that sounds right. 50. Yeah, okay. Oh, 58 city, 60 highway. That's pretty good. That's the Hyundai Ioniq Blue, which is the most efficient hybrid car on sale today. Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
But he wanted to go all electric because he wants to save our country. Wants to save the atmosphere. And he called me. He said, I'm exhausted. Why? He said, this damn trip took me forever. I'd drive for 2 hours, and then I'd have to have my car charged. And in 2 cases, I couldn't find a place to charge it, but even if I could, it took me more time to charge the damn car than I could spend in it driving.
Just a couple of pointers here. First of all, I'm not even that into electric cars. Second of all, so I guess he did mean an electric car, not a hybrid. So the 38 miles to gallon thing he just made up. Also, it is true that full electric cars do not do that well for super long distance trips. They're generally better for if you're in more like developed urban areas due to the proximity of charging ports and everything. You can get a charging port at your house too, you know, but consider it like a low range, more efficient electric vehicle. Now, obviously I'm public transit pilled, but you know, yeah.
He said it took me 2.5 times. Please, let's get rid of this stuff. Please. And you see in California, you see what's happening there where they're going all electric cars. Number one, people can't afford them. Number two, the batteries are made all in China. All the earth, the rare earth comes out of China. And interesting, we have all the gas and the gasoline, when it's refined, we have it all right under our, we don't have any of the other stuff. And if we did, our environmentalists wouldn't let us take it. It all comes out of China and a little bit in the Congo, which has gas.
He's actually probably right there. It's true. I have a feeling that if we had mass-scale lithium mining done in America, environmentalists would be kicking a fit about it. The beautiful Rockies being tunneled into with these gigantic dome mines. Yeah. Yeah.
Who controls the Congo? China.
China.
We play right into their hands. You see where I'm getting a lot of great press because I told Germany, don't make a deal with Russia on the pipeline. And they said, oh, that's so funny. I actually sent, during a meeting, G7, I sent Angela Merkel, a white flag of surrender. She said, Donald, but why do you send me this white flag? I said, Angela, because you're going to surrender. 75% of your energy is coming from Russia. If you look back over the decades, Russia and Germany haven't done too well together. When there's a war,
they were
when there's a
allies
problem,
for a
they'll
bit.
just turn off Nord Stream 2. And Angela, you're not going to be able to defend yourselves. Oh, that will never happen. Well, that was about 2 years ago. The only thing, I never thought it was going to happen this fast. And now they're giving me great. Remember, I made the speech at the United Nations, and the German delegation was all smiling. They thought it was so funny. They're not smiling now. He said it better than me. They're not smiling now. But now gas is $5 and $6 and $7, and it's going to be going up. Think of it. And they brag because it came down slightly. You know, it came down about 42 cents.
Trump's not wrong on this one, by the way. Germany really dragged their feet on the whole getting their energy from Russia thing. They really fucked up on that one. Yeah, they fucked up on that one. Yeah, they've made steps to address it. It's just, yeah. Germany's brought it in now. It's just, yeah, closing their nuclear power.
We actually had it down at one point to $1.42. Remember that? But I had to get it a little up. We had to let the oil companies make a couple of bucks. I didn't want to wipe out the oil companies. But what's happened is one of the big reasons for inflation is what this guy has done with energy, because energy is so all-encompassing. It's so big. With the help of Pennsylvania energy workers, did you get screwed or what? Remember I told you they were going to do this to you? He lied. During the debate, he said, no, I would never do that. The first thing he did, practically, was end the Keystone Pipeline, right? That was like the first thing he did. And you know, all those workers voted for me, but the head of the union voted for... I wonder, is he still the head? Check it out. He ought to be fired real fast. The Keystone Pipeline would have been great. A lot of jobs. It would have done a good job. With the help of Pennsylvania energy workers, under my leadership, we had American energy independence for the first time ever. And within a short period of time, we would have been energy dominant. We would have been bigger than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined ×2. And now we're beggars. We're like a beggar nation. We gave you, think of that, we're energy beggars. We would have been bigger than everybody combined. The biggest energy suppliers combined ×2. We're going to be energy dominant, and now we're beggars. We gave you the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. The radical Democrat Congress just passed one of the largest tax hikes in American history, pulverizing the middle class. And now you have the privilege of having 87,000 IRS agents go after you. And they've actually been approved. I'd never heard of this one. They got approved to carry guns, so they can go after you with guns. You know, they don't want to have...
What does he think IRS agents do? What? They work in an office. The IRS soldiers. Vaush, this has been a thing since the 30s. Every federal government branch can carry guns if they want to confront you directly. The post office has their own detective and police force. Every federal, they're the executive branch. No, the 87,000 IRS agents are accountants. That's it. And there's no reason to ever be against it either, by the way. Every leftist should support more money going to the IRS, more people working for the IRS. Means more tax cheat rich people getting what's coming to them. The IRS has had trouble pursuing audits against the wealthy who have fancy attorneys that they can use to delay investigation. You know, takes a lot of money to investigate those people.
Have guns, but it's okay for the IRS. It's like an army. Can you imagine that was approved, that they allowed that to get through? And all Mitch McConnell had to do is waive the debt ceiling. I'm not approving anything having to do with debt ceiling unless you drop all this crap, $4 trillion worth, because Manchin folded like a dog. You saw that. And I always said he would. I told you he would. He did. And West Virginia, which voted for me, 45 points. I was up 45 points. West Virginia is not happy with Joe Manchin because he killed coal and they put taxes on coal. Clean, beautiful coal. He killed it. I can't imagine he's going to do well. I don't know what the hell got to him. Under the Trump administration, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world with no inflation. Biden and the Democrat Congress created the worst inflation in 50 years, 9.1%, and it's going to go a lot higher. And now they are making it worse with their immoral plan to wipe out hundreds of billions of dollars of debt for college graduates. Now think of this. How unfair is it? How unfair is it to all of those people, many of you are here, that paid and worked so hard? I saw they were doing a story about Pocahontas. That's Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. And this big, strong guy came up to her, really a good-looking guy, and he looks at
I missed him.
and he goes, well, what's going on with this debt? You want to cancel the debt? I've been working my ass off for 12 years, he said, and I've almost got my daughter's debt paid off. I worked weekends, 12 years. My neighbor, he's my friend, but he hasn't worked at all. And now the debt's going to be canceled, but I worked.
Yes.
This is unfair. And then he was not too nice after that, so we'll forget what he said. But he was not too happy. But you can multiply that times millions and millions of people.
So again, like, this logic is literally like, wow, you developed a cure to cancer. Well, what about all the people who died of cancer before? Completely insane. No moral justification for it. Again, I struggle sometimes when watching stuff like this because it's a reminder that these people are beyond reason. It's like the clean coal thing. There are Republicans who believe that clean coal is a thing. Donald Trump has repeatedly said clean coal is a thing. What do you do with that? Like, they want to launder the reputation of fossil fuel companies because they're in bed with them. It's like, okay, well, we're just going to say clean coal. You know, no studies, nothing. Like, there's nothing there, just clean coal. Okay, and now they believe it. Now Republicans are like, oh yeah, well, clean coal. You know, it's not regular coal, it's clean coal. What is clean coal? I don't know. They wash it beforehand or something. There's nothing there. It's empty. It's completely empty.
They paid for it on the backs of hardworking citizens, and they're raising your taxes. Remember this, you don't realize it. You're getting the biggest tax increase in history. It's all disinformation. They're saying under 400,000. You're getting the biggest tax increase in the history of our country. So enjoy paying it. And you know what it's paying for? Things like that, but the Green New Deal, which is like taking the money and throwing it out the window. And it's actually worse. It's actually like taking the money and destroying our country because it sets us back. Just like Germany. You know, Germany's back to building and opening its plants because they got so screwed up with their green new energy. They got carried away. Windmills all over the place, killing all the birds, destroying all the values of homes, destroying the plains and fields, beautiful plains. If you want to see a dead bird cemetery, go under a windmill sometime. It's not a pretty sight. It's also the single most expensive form of energy you can get. And all of those big giant turbines are built in China and Germany to a lesser extent. I rebuilt our military.
God.
Including our nuclear capability, and hope to God we never have to use it, and the creation of Space Force. Do you see what they're doing with Iran? Iran was dying to make a deal with me. I would have had a deal done within 1 week after the election, and now we're going to pay them hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're going to have nuclear weapons within a short period of time. These people are crazy. I mean, they honestly, they can't be stupid. They must hate our country. They must hate our country. They surrendered our strength and our wisdom, our everything. They turned Afghanistan into the greatest humiliation our country has ever seen. I believe it was the most humiliating time that our country has ever gone through. 13 dead soldiers, but they never mentioned those soldiers who lost their legs and arms and face. They were obliterated. Nobody talks about them. And
Is this video sped up? It actually is by 30%. This is what he normally sounds like.
there were many. Nobody talks about them. We left American citizens behind. And we left $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the entire world, planes and tanks and goggles, 700,000 rifles and AK-47s. We left it all behind. Think of this, 70,000 vehicles. There's not a used car lot in the country that has probably 500 vehicles. 70,000 vehicles we left behind. Some of those vehicles cost millions of dollars because they're armor plated with 6 inches of steel.
I'm turning it back up.
We left it all behind. I built much of it because I rebuilt our entire military. We left, think of it, $85 billion worth of military equipment. And you know, I saw a number the other day. The second largest arms dealer in the entire world is Afghanistan. Because they're selling, because they don't need 700,000 rifles and guns. 700,000. They need 40,000 or 20,000. What were we thinking? You don't take the military out first. And remember this in Afghanistan. 18 months, we didn't lose one soldier. You heard the numbers on Philadelphia? 18 months. I spoke to Abdul. I said, Abdul, don't do it, Abdul, don't do it. Don't do it. But why, sir? Why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, Abdul, that's a different story.
This is just a straight lie, lol. Yeah, probably. I don't even care enough to fact check. Why bother fact checking any of this? Why? Oh God, I can't sink into the doomerism. It's important to spend 18 hours a day memorizing everything they casually lie about so that you can debunk it on the fly. Oh God. That's the whole, because that's what I've had, that's what I have to do, right? Especially when in the lead up to the presidential race. It's like, memorize gallons of disinformation every day so that you can know what to say in response to it, you know? Oh God, it's so tiring. And that's the point. I mean, that's the point, you know? They lie on purpose. The purpose of lying this frequently, even about stuff that doesn't even matter, is to, you know, numb their audience to lies and make it difficult for everyone else to actually deal with it.
Don't do it. And we were fine. Remember they said, why is he speaking to the Taliban? Because that's where the problem was, right? That's where the problem was. 18 months. And Biden actually said it a couple of months ago. Well, I'll say one thing. We didn't lose one soldier in 18 months. And they're screaming at him, you don't take it back. You're not supposed to say that because it's good. We didn't lose a soldier in 18 months. They were so afraid. They didn't want anything. We could have gotten out. I wanted to get out more than anybody. I'm the one that got it down to 2,000. But also, we should have kept Bagram because of China. Bagram Air Base cost billions and billions of dollars years ago to build. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. We should have never left without keeping Bagram. What a shame. The most humiliating time. I believe, actually, that probably Putin went in because when he saw the incompetence.
So wait, leave Afghanistan but occupy the airport? What? Oh yeah, Trump never would have left Afghanistan. He would have continued delaying the plan 100%. Everyone with 2 brain cells knew that the withdrawal from Afghanistan would be followed by the ANA crumbling. Jesus Christ. That it would be followed by the ANA crumbling and the Taliban taking over. It was just a matter of how long it would take. And there's no way Trump, with his ego, could have let that happen on his watch. Unironically, massive respect to Biden for actually letting it go through.
Of that, he said, this is going to be easier than I thought. And now we have a war between Russia and Ukraine with potentially hundreds of thousands.
What the fuck is this?
Millions of people are going to die. That would have never happened if I was your president. It would have never happened. I promise you. I talked to him. Vladimir, you can't do that. Can't do it, Vladimir.
This is probably true. If Trump was president at that time, he probably would have led an international effort to keep people from defending Ukraine. There would have been fewer deaths because Russia just would have won immediately.
Those beautiful golden turrets in Moscow, Vladimir, I want to leave them alone, please. You can't do it, Vladimir. He would never have done it. He would never have done it. He said, well, I sort of believe you because you actually did kill me on Nord Stream 2. Nobody thought that was possible. I ended North. Can you imagine? Biden came in and he opened up the pipeline. I ended it. Then he said, oh, Trump was soft on Russia. I was soft. The only one that doesn't think that is Putin. He didn't think I was too soft with the sanctions, but think of it. The biggest deal they've ever done is Nord Stream 2 that nobody ever heard of until I came along. They were building this massive pipeline. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2 until I came along. We created the safest border in United States history. We ended catch and release. We deported record numbers of illegal aliens, gang members.
It's completely incoherent. There's not even any, like, coherent thread with the
And we built hundreds and hundreds of miles of border wall, despite 2.5 years of Democrat-inspired lawsuits. We had 11 lawsuits. I won every one of them. It took 2.5 years to win. And
hundreds of miles, but it's a 1,000-mile-long border, multiple thousands.
And they came to me, sir, we have some other sections. I said, let's do it. Come on, let's go fast. Then we added much more wall, 200 miles, and we almost got that finished on top of what we did. And I figured that this guy would finish it up, and he didn't. Not only didn't he finish, when Texas wanted to use the stuff that was sitting there ready to be erected. It was going to be erected very quickly, very effectively. Great wall. It's exactly what Border Patrol wanted. I said, what do you want?
Is this guy having a religious experience? I'm genuinely wondering. I mean, anybody who would show up at these rallies and push their way into the behind Trump, you know, like to get in the camera frame has got to be pretty fucking psycho. I don't know. Is that his beard? Yeah, it is. It's kind of disconcerting.
This is exactly. They want steel. They wanted concrete. They wanted rebar, heavy set rebar. They wanted exactly, and they have to be able to see through so we see what's happening on the other side. I wanted to just give them a nice, big, beautiful concrete plank, but they didn't want that. So we gave them exactly what they wanted, and it could have been finished in a few weeks. And not only didn't they give this free to Texas, where Texas is going to put it up, they actually took it away and put it in a secure area where nobody can take it. That's just a terrible thing. 3 weeks was all it would have taken to complete the job. Our country is paying a terrible price for the rigged election. I ran twice, I won twice, and did much better the second time than I did the first. Getting millions and millions more votes in 2020 than we got in 2016.
See, again, it's the pathology of the Trump voter. Notice how nobody was following any of the shit that he was saying for a while there. Like, he'll do a rambling bit, and then he has to end it on one of the few things that the audience is keyed in on and knows to respond to. So he does this rambling thing, you know, people are just waiting for it, and then just with no connection between these ideas, and then he goes to, yeah, we won twice, I won even more election fraud, and, you know, everyone erupts in applause. There doesn't really have to be any any synchronicity or cohesion to the delivery of the speech, which is pretty wild, you know. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm a big respecter of all people, but Republicans, at least the ones who are very fanatically in favor of Trump, definitely work to earn the very negative things you can say about them. IQ, skull shape, you know, general disposition. They certainly, I mean, I hate to sound cunty here, but like, does the word sheeple not like creep into your mind like a spider emerging from the, you know, the edge of a dresser? I mean, there's very little like actual thought and comprehension going on here. And you can tell. You can watch a speech from Bernie or a speech from Biden. There's way more evident engagement with what he's saying. And for as, you know, as much as we ramble on about the Biden dementia shit, which again, he's old as fuck, probably true. His speeches are coherent, at least structurally. He'll ramble off for a bit because he's got a stutter. You know, he sounds like he's aging to death live, but the way the speech is structured is coherent. Not really the case here. Just hard to imagine any critical thought going on in the minds of these people. He made a joke earlier about Germany and literally no one laughed. Yeah, because they don't know. They don't know politics is the thing. Do you think Trump is a speechwriter? I think these are ad-libbed, aren't they? Most of these speeches are ad-libbed because it's like an ego thing. He doesn't want to be brought down by a teleprompter. But they don't know politics. They're not familiar with politics. Politics for them is a vehicle exclusively, you know, for the purpose of securing their power, and the dissolution of democracy. That's what it is for them. All the nuance, all the subtlety, all the specifics, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for them. They don't need to be. They don't need to be good at politics. You don't need to be good at politics to be in charge. The Nazis were not good at politics. They were not nuanced, effective policymakers. They were just more effective than their adversaries at securing political power.
You know that. Doug knows that. We got millions of more votes. I tell people, yeah, oh, what a great job you did. I was being interviewed by this fake news reporter, and he said, what happened in 2020? I said, well, we did much better, actually. We got millions more votes. We got the largest number of votes of any sitting president in history. They said, you know, I never thought of it that way. I said, why don't you start thinking about it that way? Got a rigged election. And likewise, getting more votes than, think of it. There's never been a sitting president got anywhere near, I think we got like 10 million more votes than Obama got. Obama, you know, so popular.
That's so crazy. There's actually, you know, there's one other guy who got more votes in a presidential election. 8 million more votes, actually. Pretty crazy if you think about it. Not a sitting president, didn't even have the benefit of being the incumbent.
He's so popular. They say he's so handsome. Oh, Obama's so handsome. He's such a great speaker. What does he say? He says nothing. And we're leading Biden and everyone else, including the Republicans, by record numbers in the polls. So I may just have to do it again. You'll be staying tuned. May have to do it again. You hear that, Oz? Do it again.
He's never going to get over Obama. All of this is because Obama made fun of him at a fucking correspondence dinner, and now we have to deal with this guy. I mean, Trump literally hired that actor to do the fake "you're fired" video with the Obama impersonator after he, like, got into office, because he needed that, you know? Yeah, it's all because of that fucking... Oh, God. Wait, is that actually the lore? Yeah! It's Trump. Of course it's all spite-based. Obama-Trump correspondence dinner joke. Like in 2011.
My official.
Because Trump was a big birther back then, right? The idea that Joe Biden, or not Joe Biden, that Barack Obama wasn't a real American because of the birth certificate thing, that years-long conspiracy theory.
Long-form birth certificate. Hopefully, this puts all doubts to rest. But just in case there are any lingering questions, tonight, I'm prepared to go a step further. Tonight, for the first time, I am releasing my official birth video.
Obama.
Now, I warn you, no one has seen this footage.
I know Obama is far from perfect, but damn if he's in charge. Oh, of course. Oh, Obama's insanely charismatic. Didn't he win an Emmy like yesterday? Of course he's charismatic. You know, not really a statement of the man's politics, but obviously he's exceptionally charismatic.
50 years. Not even me. But let's take a look.
It's a good meme.
Oh, well. Back to square one. I want to make clear to the...
That seems racist. That's the joke. The joke is that the birther movement was racist. They were calling him not really an American because they were lying about his birth certificate. So the joke is like, actually, he's from Africa.
Fox News table, that was a joke. That was not my real birth video. That was a children's cartoon. Call Disney if you don't believe me. They have the original long-form version. There's a vicious rumor floating around that I think could really hurt Mitt Romney. I heard he passed universal health care when he was governor of Massachusetts. Someone should get to the bottom of that. And I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
It's incredible. You can see, I'll full screen it too. You can see he's so fucking mad absolutely look at him. He's like the protagonist in a movie. Like everyone else is moving and he's just seething. Look at him. And that's it. And this is it. This is why everything of the past 6 years has happened. This right here. We found this is it. It's literally that simple.
Like, did we fake the moon landing?
Look at him. Look at him. He's doing the fucking Clockwork Orange Kubrick stare at Obama.
Happened in Roswell. And where are Biggie and Tupac?
It's psychotic.
All kidding aside, obviously we all know about.
It's like he's literally doing the thing. Like he's laughing at your joke. No, this one's better. This is more appropriate. There we go. This is what he's doing. Look, you could see it. He's doing the face. It's not a joke. It's the same face. Yeah, so anyway, that's why American democracy is crumbling and fascism is imminent. It's because of this joke. Thanks, Obama. Fuck, we were watching a speech, weren't we? I got there. It's 3 p.m. Man.
May just have to do it again.
Because some liberals were being smug. You joke, but the emasculation by the liberal class is a habitual theme in fascist uprisings. The perceived emasculation by liberalism is a consistent theme in the motivation of fascist movements. So yeah, this may seem like incredibly silly, but no, it's on the level of what you'd expect, I guess. Though this is, I'll admit, a particularly petty example.
But first, we have to win a historic victory for the Republican Party this November. Among our highest priorities must be to end the nightmare Joe Biden and congressional Democrats have created on our southern border, a nightmare. Remember this, we had the strongest, best border we ever had 2 years ago. Now we have the worst border. I believe it's worse than any border anywhere in the world.
You could just say anything, dude. Just literally anything. The fucking Indian-Pakistani border, you know, just whatever. Yeah, no, that's not shit. Next to American border. Whatever. Fucking North Korean, South Korean border, the DMZ, nah.
Because no third world country would let people come into their country the way we have. Right here in Pennsylvania last year, 2 illegal alien criminals allegedly brutalized and bludgeoned a man to death on a busy street corner.
That's crazy.
In Chester County, an illegal alien stands accused of grabbing a 33-year-old woman by the hair, pulling her down and around the ground, and stabbing her to death in front of her 7-year-old daughter
Andrew
and a
Tate
3-year-old son. And just a few weeks
color's
ago,
your
an illegal
Bugatti
alien murderer was charged with shooting to death a 76-year-old man from Pennsylvania. He took a walk every morning, and this guy killed him for no reason whatsoever. Didn't know him.
Genocidal rhetoric, by the way. The goal here is to exacerbate tensions within the population so that the legal proceduralist efforts to keep immigrants out can be supplemented by essentially like mass lynchings of the immigrants already here. Not whether, it doesn't matter whether they're illegal or not, you know, that doesn't really matter. What they mean, it's brown people, you know, Mexicans.
Didn't know him, didn't do anything, just wanted to kill him. The radical Democrat Congress has turned our country into one giant sanctuary for dangerous criminal aliens. We protect all of the criminals. We don't protect our own people. In fact, they raid our people. In the Republican Party, we believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding citizens who love America. Right? If we're going to make America great again, our first task is to make America safe again. We have to have a safe country. We have to have a safe country. And you know, I told you before I love the fields, but I like these better because the air conditioning system. But this air conditioning is not working too well. It's about 100 degrees up here. I'm sweating like a dog, but I'll call Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, am I okay, doctor? Am I okay? He says yes. He says yes. You know, I was on a show years ago, and Dr. Oz, I'm going to introduce him in a second, but I was on a show years ago, and he did like an examination of me. I don't know what the hell he did the show for. I wasn't like even a politician at that point. But he did an examination, and the word said, he's extremely healthy, really a very, very fine, fit man, but he should lose 20 or 25 pounds. I was so angry I didn't speak to him for you. Remember that? He said he was great, but he could lose a couple of pounds. He's great. He's going to be great. Under Democrat control, the streets of our great cities are drenched in the blood of innocent victims. Much of this crime is caused by drug dealers who, during the course of their lives, will kill an average of 500 American citizens. Every drug dealer.
I was about to say I'd like to know where he got that statistic from. I know it came directly from his ass, but okay. All right.
Is responsible, and that doesn't include what they've done to families of people that haven't died, but families that are just devastated by what happened to their children and to themselves. Think of it, 500 people, the average drug dealer. I'm calling for the death penalty for drug dealers, which will, upon its passage.
So, fascism.
Reduce drug distribution in our country on day one by 75%. No more blue ribbon committees telling us what to do, you know?
No more law, no more proceduralist bullshit, no more bureaucrats, just people on the street with rope and a lamppost to hang people off of. That's what he's saying. No law, just lynching.
I was setting them up in the White House. There's a blue ribbon committee headed by socialites. And they just want, I mean, look, they're very nice people, but they just want a little publicity for themselves. They can't deal with the kind of killers that we're talking.
Oh, by the way, when you consider what it means to kill drug dealers like that, keep in mind that conservatives, for decades, have long made an effort to lock up people of color for possession amounts under intent to distribute charges. You know, you're going to have black guys with like 1 ounce of weed getting lynched as a bunch of, you know, Karens are screaming that they're trying to get their kids hooked on fentanyl or something. And there is, of course, always a racial and a class character to any war on drugs or drug dealers. I mean, obviously.
Talking about. We want the death penalty for drug dealers, and you will save millions of lives. You know, we're going to lose 250,000 people, I think, this year. You know, just to go off for
a lot of the people that we're going to lose to drugs, by the way, going to be lost to prescription opioid addicts. In the pharmaceutical industry, over-recommending painkillers is an easy fix-all. It gets people hooked. That's not what he means, but he says drug dealers, you know. For all of the wanking off that these people do about how they're fighting pharmaceutical industry corruption by being anti-vaccine, they refuse to look at the actual cause of a significant portion of drug deaths in this country because they're in bed with their corporate masters. You know, they know who pays the bills. They know who you know, funds those super PACs. So instead, they're going to make this a, you know, racialized thing again.
Second, does anybody mind that I do that now? Is there any better place to be on a beautiful Saturday evening than a Trump rally?
That's what gets the cheer.
I don't think so. Trump rally. But just to go for a second, so, you know, I got to know a lot of the foreign leaders, and let me tell you, unlike our leader, they're at the top of their game. These are like central casting. There's nobody that could play the role in Hollywood. All of Hollywood, nobody can play the role of President Xi of China. Nobody could play the role. He's a fierce person.
What?
Putin, fierce. They're smart. You know, a lot of times I'll say somebody's smart, and the fake news will go, he called President Xi smart. He rules with an iron fist 1.5 billion people. Yeah, I'd say he's smart. Wouldn't you say he's smart? So I'm with President Xi, and I got along with him very well. I mean, once COVID came, it was just over. We made a great trade deal with him, helped our farmers, helped our manufacturers. But I'm with him, and I really had a great relationship with him. And then I asked him a question. I said, President, he's president for life, by the way. So I call him king. I say, king. He said, but I am not king. I said, you are to me. You're president for life. It's the same thing. He will be very soon. You know, they're having another. By the way, do you notice a lot of ships are circling Taiwan? That wouldn't have happened either, by the way. But I said, President, could I ask you a very simple question? Do you have a drug problem? He looked at me like, what's wrong with that? No, of course not. He goes, no. He's like, what the hell stupid question is that? No. I said, you don't have a drug problem with 1.5 billion people. His big problem is they make the drugs, they send them into our country. That's their problem. That would have been their problem, and he was stopping it too. But now they're sending.
I don't think the drugs that we get in the United States are being shipped to us from China. I don't know if that's the character of the international drug trade. If it is, I'm not aware of it. Additionally, I like how Donald Trump essentially acknowledges that Xi Jinping is a dictator for life, and then just decides to take advice from him. Fentanyl is? Okay, fentanyl. How many people die? Fentanyl deaths. I know that, like, cops are always... There's always... The fentanyl thing is always... It's difficult because the cops... You know, the cops will post something like... They found, like, a little baggie full of sugar crystals or something, and there'll be a story underneath it about how the aura of the fentanyl within caused cops to pass out from miles away. Like it was some kind of escaped SCP that they tracked down to, like, the parking lot behind a Denny's. You know, they needed to have like a wall of riot cops, like, surround it with psi shields, and they had a little bomb diffusal robot come up and pick it up, you know. Place it in a psionically contained canister. Well, the whole fentanyl shit is really mostly happening because of the opioid overprescription epidemic, right? That's what happens. It's like these people get injuries. They go to the doctors get them hooked on prescription opiates, and then, you know, when they can't get the prescription re-up, they turn to street stuff, and obviously that street stuff is dangerous, and they die, and that's not good. But yeah, it seems like a problem that at its core is coming from the pharmaceutical industry.
The fentanyl in at numbers that you wouldn't believe it, pouring through that porous border at numbers you wouldn't believe. I had him very close to stopped. He couldn't do it. I told him he can't do it. So, President, you don't have a drug problem. But why don't you have a drug problem? We have quick trial. I said, what is a quick trial? We immediately catch the drug dealer. We give him quick trial. And if he is guilty, which I would say probably they're batting, would you say they're about batting 100% or only 99? If the drug dealer is guilty, he is immediately executed. So we have no drug problem in China. And
so after acknowledging that Xi Jinping is a dictator, he says not only does he want the death penalty, he wants what seems to be, what is implied to be here, an expedited and unfair trial, like a show trial. That's the implication here, you know? Like, oh yeah, China, dictatorship, they solve this problem real quick. They're batting 100, or batting 1,000, sorry. You know, quick trial, then they're dead, you know? It's a show trial, kangaroo court. Why are they clapping? He's saying he agrees with China. So this is what you have to understand, okay? They don't actually dislike China, all right? It's a very interesting pathology. The fascists and the nationalists simultaneously get along with other fascists and authoritarians in other countries while also maintaining the posture of opposition. It is, funnily enough, a lot like 1984. In 1984, you have the three superstates that all appear to be competing with each other, but in reality, they effectively have, you know, treaties of you know, mutual non-intervention when it comes to invading their respective territories. Same thing, Stalin and Hitler. Think about it. Hitler, big Aryan race guy, huh? Hitler loves his Aryans, love races of Aryans. Hitler, right? Hitler didn't like the Mediterranean people that much, but who did he ally with? Mussolini. They were big friends. You know, he definitely didn't like Asian people that much. Instead, but then he goes ahead and he allies with the Japanese, calls them honorary Aryans. Now, there's no logical explanation for this behavior if you believe that they're consistently motivated by their racialized ideology. Likewise with Donald Trump and their nationalism. Donald Trump and Trump supporters don't care about America, the real America that actually exists. They care about the concept of America. They care about the archetype of America, the white picket fence, white people, etc., etc. And that archetype of America is something that they see in other countries too. Have you ever noticed how American neo-Nazis have a weird fondness for China and for Russia? Nick Fuentes likes Stalin. They idolize other authoritarians because they see in those policies, in that governance, a reflection of the policies they want to implement here. They like the Taliban, for fuck's sake. Yeah, the far right, is very much, oh, you gotta hand it to them for ISIS, for the Taliban, for Al-Qaeda. All the time. The Republicans, they had CPAC over in Hungary. They brought Orban over for their most recent CPAC here in the States. Fascism is isolationist, it is nationalist, but it is also truly international. Does that make sense in the way that I've described it? So that's the reason why Donald Trump can refer to China as the enemy of America, but can also congratulate China on its authoritarian policies and say that he's taking lessons from them. That's not a contradiction in their ideology, because their ideology is batshit.
We have other countries like that too, Singapore, other countries. And if you do that, I've told this, and it's a hard thing to say, because calling for the death penalty is tough, but think of it. They kill 500 people during a lifetime, and I think it's much worse than that. I think that's only what we hear about. It would stop. If you didn't get it down 75, 80, 90% from day one, I'd be surprised. And these committees that they set up,
It's worth pointing out that if he wants the death penalty, day one would indicate there would be no trial at all. After all, we already arrest people who we accuse of dealing drugs, so getting them off the street should theoretically prevent them from killing people, because they're in prison or jail at that point. So the behavior here indicates he doesn't even want a trial. He just wants them lynched. Again, it's lynching. That's what he's talking about here.
It's laughable. It's a horrible thing. We would solve that problem so fast, and I'm calling on Republicans and Democrats immediately to get to Washington and institute the death penalty for drug dealers. You will no longer have a problem. So Philadelphia has become, as you heard many times over the last short period of time, worse than it's ever been. It's become a killing field. A few days ago, a 4-year-old boy was shot while getting a haircut for his first day in school. His mother was so proud of him. He was getting a hug. He was shot.
Well, how do you know his mother was proud of him? Let's not editorialize. He could have been a disappointment.
Recently, a pregnant mother was shot in the head and horribly murdered. Her unborn baby was miraculously saved. Under a Republican Congress, we should pass emergency funding to hire thousands and thousands more police officers nationwide, to put violent criminals behind bars and keep them behind bars. And also, leave our police alone. Let them do their job. Give them back their respect. They know what to do, and nobody can do it better, but they're under siege. They don't want to lose their house. They don't want to lose their families. What they do to police officers, and you're always going to...
When he talks about them losing their house or families, what he's referring to are the consequences associated with police officers being charged, usually for the unlawful murder of their of civilians, and the consequence that follow. I think he's referring to Chauvin here. Losing your house and your family is something that happens when you go to jail. He's essentially arguing for an empowerment of qualified immunity. Cops already get away with like 99% of the bad shit they do, and he wants it to be 100%. He wants a police state, effectively police to be a caste, an impervious, legally bulletproof, Judge Dredd-esque, bringers of law.
Have some bad apples, but they're very few. And we have a country that's become one of the most unsafe countries in the world. Think of it. We're dealing with third world nations where they're much safer than major parts. Think of it, what I said. In Afghanistan, we didn't lose one soldier in 18 months, and yet I just read off numbers in Philadelphia. If you look at Atlanta, I have a district attorney in Atlanta. She's after me for a perfect phone call. And yet, it's even worse proportionately than Chicago for killing. But the district attorney, Trump made a phone call because he was challenging the election. So they're after me.
The phone call that he's referring to is when he called Republican officials in various states when he realized he was losing the 2020 election, demanding they provide him more votes. It was a naked and blatant effort on his part to subvert the election, just essentially demanding corruption on the part of his officials. He did this for multiple people. Also, while I haven't looked to see whether the whole no U.S. soldier dying in 18 months thing is true, if that is the case, it is because at that point in our occupation of Afghanistan, our soldiers were just chilling, like in safe places deeper within Afghanistan. ANA soldiers were dying constantly fighting the Taliban.
For a perfect, by the way, perfect phone call. You'd be very proud of me. Just like the call to Ukraine was a perfect call. The one in Atlanta was a perfect call. Perfect call. And yet Atlanta is even worse than Chicago, proportionately. Restoring safety to America starts with defeating the Democrat extremists right here in Pennsylvania. Your state's radical Democrat candidate for Senate, John Fetterman, is the most dangerous Democrat. He's the most dangerous Democrat. Seeking to join Congress this year in one of the most fringe far-left freak shows ever to seek election.
I just gotta point it out, by the way. If you want to take a look at violent crime rates per capita, District of Columbia is first, which makes sense because District of Columbia is a bastard Frankenstein half-state that is not given the resources necessary to fix its internal problems due to antiquated federal law. Alaska, New Mexico, Tennessee, Arkansas, Arizona, Louisiana, Missouri, South Carolina, South Dakota. That's the top 10. Not exactly Democrat central, you know? Not exactly a haven of leftist thought. Sorry, one second. And this is just the violent crime rate. You want to take a look at the drug overdose rate per capita? Hold on. Drug overdose rate per capita per state. Drug overdose mortality by state. Because if I recall correctly, the Midwest is not doing good there. No. Yeah, here we go. Yikers. West Virginia, Kentucky, Delaware, Ohio, Tennessee, Maryland, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Maine, Connecticut, New Mexico. And this gets even worse if you look at it by county, too. If you look at it by county, it's very disproportionately in these, like, rural flyover areas. You know? Because cities have a lot of people, so they've got a lot of drug overdoses. But per capita, you know, you got a lot of people, so you're going to have a lot of everything. It's not good. Not good.
For any office in any state. You know, I've watched him over the last couple of years, and I said, you got to be kidding. Actually, I thought Connor Lamb, I don't know Connor Lamb, but I thought he was maybe a decent politician. You know, he campaigned in a sort of a middle Democrat area, and he was doing commercials that was so good for me that people thought that he was a Republican. I like Connor Lamb. But Fetterman got it, and he got it in a landslide. And this guy's a disaster. He comes in with a sweatsuit on. I've never seen him wear a suit. A dirty sweatsuit. It's really disgusting. You know, I'm a clean freak. I'm a clean freak, Oz. I don't like those dirty sweatsuits. They're disgusting. Fetterman may dress like a teenager getting high in his parents' basement, but he's a raging lunatic hell-bent on springing hardened criminals out of jail in the middle of the worst crime wave in Pennsylvania history. He wants everybody out of jail.
It is, of course, not the worst crime wave in Pennsylvania history. Not by a long shot. Not even remotely. It's down since the 90s by quite a lot. Just keeping that in mind.
And by the way, he wants to get rid of your police. Fetterman is a defund the police Marxist who's just pulling the wool over people's eyes, who literally said that if he had a magic wand and could fix one thing, he would end life sentences without parole for murderers, cop killers, rapists, and other monstrous criminals. That's what he said.
Life sentence without parole is fucked up. Even if a person deserves a life sentence, they should always be given the opportunity to demonstrate their rehabilitation. Yeah, for sure. Who's the real American here, folks? The greasy, fake tan toupee-wearing billionaire? Or this, God, look at him. You could go anywhere in the world and ask who looks like the real American. No one would point left. Everyone knows the answer to this question, okay? This titanic 6'6", this colossal man over here. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Not a question in anyone's mind.
He wants him to get out of jail. Get out of jail. Let's put Trump in jail. Let's get these murderers. Let these murderers out. Put Trump in jail.
Based, yeah.
Trump is no damn good. He just works his ass off for this country. Through his position
More vacation days than anyone in history.
on the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons, Fetterman has released a record number of dangerous criminals back onto the streets, many of which have created horrible, just atrocious crimes. He supports...
I don't think that's true. If there was any evidence of mass recidivism as a product of his policies, then I would have heard of it. If it is true, then I haven't heard of it. I don't think that's true.
Setting loose 1 out of every 3 inmates in your prisons. And he bragged that his goal is to get as many criminals out onto the street as quickly as possible.
Based.
Fetterman supports taxpayer-funded drug dens and the complete decriminalization of illegal drugs, including heroin, cocaine, crystal meth, and ultra-lethal fentanyl. And by the way, he takes them himself, which would mean death and despair for every community in Pennsylvania and every community in the United States of America. Compare that to President Xi of China. Live different, would you say? Fetterman openly supports deadly sanctuary cities, and he's...
Hold on, wait. Put Fetterman up against President Xi any day. President Xi would be suplexed into the stratosphere. His spine would be broken in so many places that you could repurpose it as the fucking slinky. Take that fight, Fetterman. Do it for America.
Signed a pledge to ban fracking, which would demolish almost 1 million jobs in Pennsylvania. I told you they were going to do that, Pennsylvania. Well, you did listen to me because I won Pennsylvania by a lot. You did. I can't hold you. I can only hold accountable the stupid people that counted the votes. Did you ever hear the statement by, I believe it was Lenin? Did anyone ever hear of Lenin? People would say it with less sophistication, Lenin. Lenin, I like the way they say that. Where he said, the vote counter is far more important than the candidate. Well, that turned out to be true. The vote counter is far more important than the candidate, said by...
Did Lenin say that? Lenin? Is that a Stalin quote? Okay, apparently it is debunked on PolitiFact that Joseph Stalin said, it is enough that the people know there was an election, the people who cast the votes decide nothing, the people who count the votes decide everything. So it's just completely made up, it seems? Gotcha. Attributed to Stalin on Facebook on March 21st. Okay, so this was a fake Stalin quote created by Trump supporters who were saying this to compare the vote counters who determined that Trump didn't win. Yeah, it's actually a Biden quote.
Lenin. And while Fetterman wants to raise your taxes, he is a spoiled and entitled socialist loser who leached off his parents' money. You know, he lives on the parents' money.
Based.
Until he was 49 years old.
Based.
And on top of it all, he's too cowardly to even show up and debate. A very nice man, Oz. He's very nice. Oz, you'll treat him nicely, right?
Oz right over there. Why is that?
Because he knows that his positions are totally indefensible. And in all fairness, you need somebody that's going to be out there and just ripping it for you. Otherwise, you're going to lose out to all the other senators that are going to bring back money to their states, etc. And Oz will do it. Fetterman is running against a man I have known for many years. I told you I had a real problem with him when he said I was a little heavy. I didn't like that. And of course, it was false, right? Was he wrong? And who is with our MAGA movement all the way. He's with us all the way. And, you know, some people thought that, oh, gee, maybe this was a little bit of a controversial thing, but I know him very well. And he's a guy that gets it done. He's a good person, too. His wife is a fantastic person. I think I like her even more than I like him, Lisa. So I'd like to ask Dr. Oz to step forward and say a few words. He's been an incredibly successful man on television and medicine. He knows what's happening, and he's going to work and fight for Pennsylvania.
I'm hungry.
Pennsylvania, we have one question, one important question we have to answer by November 8th. Are you ready for it? Is the country headed in the right direction? If your friends say yes, take away their car keys, they should not be driving. In that condition, people should stay home. But if the answer is no,
my favorite like gaffe that Oz ever made was when that he's a true PA resident. He grew up just south of Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is on the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border that cuts through the Delaware River. So the only place you can be just south of Philadelphia is in New Jersey. That was my favorite thing. That was incredible, because I know he didn't know that. He didn't know that when he said that. He was just thinking like, oh yeah, South Philadelphia, not realizing there was no place you could be south of Philadelphia that isn't New Jersey. You know, so he's not lying or whatever. And now we see everything. Look at that. Doxed.
we've got a big problem. This country has dramatically turned in the wrong direction. I'm the person for change.
He looks like the Green Goblin a little bit, like spiritually, you know what I mean? Like he looks a little bit like Willem Dafoe.
Based on our family values here in Pennsylvania, because I believe in the American dream. I am part of the American dream. My whole life has been about hard work and earning and supporting other Americans, because that's what Americans do. I believe we can make safe cities, streets, and communities. I believe we can have a secure border and allow legal immigration, but not the fentanyl brought by traffickers bringing human beings and fentanyl from China, which took 100,000 lives last year. And I know people in this audience have been hurt by fentanyl. I believe we can have an economy that helps the American people, but most importantly, I believe in each and every one of you, and so should you. God bless you.
So should you. Off.
So we have a great record of endorsement, all of us together. It's very close to 99%, and I endorse that guy, and I'm telling you.
What your chat mods are doing while I try to pay attention to politics.
I will always tell you this. I'll tell you the truth, and he is going to be a phenomenal representative for Pennsylvania. You got to vote him in. You got to vote him in. He's a great guy. And Lisa, thank you very much. Thank you very much for what you have to put up with, Lisa. Thank you very much. You know, they spent, just so you know, they spent like $50 million trying to destroy that man. $50 million, like it was water, and they didn't come close. This guy is tough, and he's strong, and he loves this state. Right? This November, you also have to defeat the far-left Democrat candidate for governor, little Josh Shapiro, who is so much like Fetterman, other than he's about half his height, which is fine. Just fine. I always say it's absolutely fine, because we don't want to tell height jokes. You can't tell any jokes today. Not weight jokes, not height jokes. I've got them all covered. But he is a disaster for the state. He's the one that kept saying, oh, after it came out that we have a great man running against him. Oh, that's the man I wanted to run against. No, it's not, because that's the man that had a base like I do. He has a base that's so powerful and so strong. He doesn't want to run against him. As Attorney General, he presided over the complete disintegration of law and order and letting gangs and criminals run wild. Look at the numbers I just talked to you about in Philadelphia. Well, he's the guy. Those numbers are getting worse. There's nothing to stop these animals from continuing. Those numbers are going to get worse if that's possible. It's not even, you would think it's not possible. Shapiro supports sanctuary cities. He sided with Marxist, anti-American, BLM radicals and Antifa. And he's a vicious hater of free speech and a hater of your Second Amendment. So he's going to let criminals roam your streets, and he's not going to let you have a gun to protect yourself. Shapiro is also using his office to shut down your children's schools and force masks to be strapped to your children's faces, doing...
Hell yeah, dude. Sorry, I was trying to look up data on violent crime in Philadelphia over time, and I saw this for a second, and I thought, wait, oh shit, has it actually gone up? And then it turns out this isn't adjusted per capita. This is just the flat number of murders per year in the state of Philadelphia, which, you know, obviously we're looking at per capita analysis, you know, because otherwise you're dumb. This is the reported violent crime rate in the U.S. from 1990 to 2020. You can see from early 90s, we had around 760 reported violent crimes per 100,000 people. And it dropped down by about, let's see, 40%, thereabouts. 45%, yeah, thereabouts, to where we are now. We have had an uptick in crime and violent crime as a result of the COVID pandemic. It's led to an exacerbation of income inequality, which is a huge predictor for crime in general. It's had a pretty extensive effect on the fabric of our society. But overall, things are okay, Really, they are. There's always going to be some amount of crime. We should try to minimize it as much as we can. But the trends are generally positive over, on a decades-wide basis. And yeah, that's something to, take solace in, ideally. Yeah, no, 90s were violent. Real violent back then.
Unimaginable harm. And like Fetterman, Shapiro is a pro-abortion extremist who supports totally unrestricted abortion on demand.
Hey.
Right through the 9th month. Think of this. And you know where I am. You know where I am. The exceptions. I believe in the exceptions. He supports it, though, right through the 9th month. And
here we go. Sorry. I found it for the state of... Did I say... Wait. Did I say the state of Philadelphia earlier? Fuck. I meant Pennsylvania, obviously. Well, this is Pennsylvania. I mix up Pennsylvania and Philadelphia all the time. Well, this is for the state of Pennsylvania. We have, this is from disaster.com, from the FBI UCS annual crime reports, blah, blah, blah. So this is every year since 1960 with the rate of crime per 100,000 people. And we can see this for all these different categories of crime. We've got violent, property crime, murder, forcible rape. Seems a bit repetitive there, but okay. Robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, theft, vehicle theft. Right. Yeah, okay. So let's just take a look at the violent crime down here, right? We'll just take a look at that. You can imagine a chart that this is being projected on. And I feel like the camera's framed really high. Yeah, that's because I'm slouching. Here we go. So anyway, per capita crime went up for a while. And then over here in the 90s, we got like mid 400s per 100,000, 430, 450, 480 right here. Yoicks. And then since then, it looks like it's gone down. In the 2000s, we've got 420, 397, 425, 434, 382. In the 2010s, we got 366, 335, 315, 316, 313, 305, 306. The chart ends here at 2019, so I assume there's an additional bump up due to the effects of COVID. But the overall trend is a positive one. That's for violent crimes. For property crimes, look at this. In the 1990s, it's around 3,000, and in 2019, it's half that, down to 1,400. Look at that. See? I'm just trying to indicate, like, this fear-mongering from conservatives is completely baseless. Stuff has gotten worse on account of COVID, but I don't think it's fair to apply those specific bumps to, like, broader anti-police trends. And to my knowledge, there is no evidence that crime has gone up recently due to, like, being soft on crime or whatever. Stuff that has happened can be attributed pretty clearly to COVID and the effects that it has had.
And beyond. You know what beyond means? After the baby is born. After the baby is born. So as I said in my debate...
Sorry, I cut out Trump claiming that Democrats are calling for babies to be murdered post-birth. Again, Republicans are fully on board with this. They believe this. They completely believe this. Uncritically, they believe this. They 100% believe this. They're psychotic.
With crooked Hillary Clinton, rip the baby out of the womb at any time. And if the baby's already out of the womb, he's there too. Just talk to the doctor. No, you don't want that. The states will make the decision.
Again, like, right, he's priming his audience to believe that Democrats are literally just like shooting babies on delivery tables. Absolutely psychotic shit here. Nobody's calling for this.
By the way, the states will make the decision. And in Pennsylvania, I have a feeling that decision will be an interesting decision, but it's up to the states, and that's the way it was always supposed to be. But he wants to let things happen that no civilized person...
How can they believe this? They literally believe that trans people are fake, mentally ill, and part of a cabal to molest children. They'll believe anything. Reality has nothing to do with it. The German population believed that Jews were part of a national embarrassment, an effort orchestrated to force Germany to lose World War I so they could prey on the German people through the banking system with exorbitant inflation and predatory loans. They'll believe anything. People will believe anything. It's not even that connected to intelligence, to be honest with you. It has to do with the authoritarian mindset. People with authoritarian personalities are very fearful, very anxious. They're looking for strong men to lead their lives. You could call them ideologically submissive. They're very weak when it comes to cult mentalities, very vulnerable to conspiracy theories. That's the real predictor right there. It's the real reason I hate bottoms. Ideological bottoms are the root of fascism. And funnily enough, they're also the absolute counter thesis to Nietzsche's Übermensch, a person who lives for themselves, who creates the morality by which they live, because such a person is, in theory at least, is completely immune to these cult-like metrics of subservience to fascist ideology. Of course, it was Nietzsche's sister who repackaged his writings and edited them so that they would be more in line with her Nazi ideology after Nietzsche died. So women ruin everything, etc., etc. Yeah.
Person would allow, they don't allow it in other countries. No Pennsylvanian should listen to one word on abortion from these two twisted sickos who believe in killing and dismembering babies.
Nazis are full of resentment. Nazis are only resentment. The idea of basing your body politic and your ideology exclusively on weakened, impotent resentment towards the people you feel have wronged you. This is literally all they are. That's the whole thing they are.
Right up until that time of Shapiro is running against an incredible patriot and a fearless warrior for Pennsylvania work.
Why'd you say it like that? Because that's the term. Resentment is the English word. Resentiment is how people pronounce it in order to distinguish the Nietzschean version of the concept. It's like how capital has in English, but when people say capital, you know what they mean. They mean like capital, not capital. Ressentiment. Ressentiment. Oui, oui. Oui, oui.
Workers and Pennsylvania values, Doug Mastriano, who has been with me right from the beginning. I mean, right from the beginning. I remember that.
Ressentiment.
They all wanted my endorsement. They all ran. I know you had the U.S. attorney, nice guy. He was a nice guy, but he did nothing in terms of the election fraud. No, there was no problem in Pennsylvania. There was no problem in Philadelphia. There was massive.
Sorry, somebody linked this. I know we keep pausing. It's really, I'm the one who's suffering here because I'm hungry and I want to end stream, but I have to finish this speech. Black Lives Matter executive accused of siphoning 10 million from BLM donor suit said, guys, did I not tell you that a lot of the BLM org people are grifters, early on? I think I've been saying that for a while. There was a movement called Black Lives Matter, and then these guys were like, oh, we're going to start an org called Black Lives Matter. And there were a lot of sussy fucking people who were working for that org, yeah, I think it's fucked up, yeah. Now, my degree of sussosity here, my sus metering, has varied substantially. I didn't know how bad they were exactly. I guess we'll see if this turns out to be the case. What is this? Quit lying to your audience, Vaush. BLM is what caused the huge uptick, e.g. murder and traffic. Ah, yes, the two subsets of crime, murder and traffic. I'll acknowledge the BLM movement's definitely, there was a traffic-oriented problem there. And then they linked to a fucking Substack for Astral Codex 10. What's your deal? The Prophet and Caesar's Wife. See all, absolutely. Billionaire surplus and replaceability. Calling for organizers. Well, that can be fun. Will non-believers really believe anything? Slightly against underpopulation worries. This person is quite active. Well, Substack articles aside, That's like 10,000 mostly black-added deaths. Wait, do you believe the BLM protests led to 10,000 black people dying? Oh, that would be interesting. No, I don't want to debate. No, let me finish this. If we can debate, we can debate later. No, 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 no. I've stuck at this through in this goddamn thing, and I'm not cutting it now. No, 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 no.
Massive problems. And then he wants to run. He said, sir, Bill Barr would not let me go after anybody. He wouldn't let me touch anybody. What a shame. What an opportunity. But he wanted to run. Others wanted to run. I said, the one guy
Wonder if there's
that supported election.
I wonder if there's anything else that happened in 2020 that might have led to excess deaths rising.
Integrity and supported me right from the beginning is Doug Mastriano. The one guy. Really. He came to the White House. Came to the White House with a whole group of people. He brought them, and he was fighting like hell. It was really an uphill battle because you had the Democrats. They didn't want to hear anything. And then you had some bad rhinos that just someday somebody's going to explain the rhinos. Why are they doing it? But Doug is a former Army colonel who honorably served our country in uniform for 30 years before going on to fight for you in the state Senate. Became the most respected person in the Senate and definitely the hardest fighter. He was a relentless person out there fighting against lockdowns and COVID mandates. He didn't want to destroy our children. He got it long before the so-called doctors who weren't very good. And a true champion for election integrity and tough as hell on a thing called illegal immigration. He wants people to come into our country legally. As your governor, he will back down everybody.
Well, Josh Shapiro airs ads citing Doug Mastriano's affiliation with anti-Semitic alt-right extremists on Gab. Oh yeah, Gab is all Nazis. Mastriano is literally a member of the Oath Keepers. Is that true? Shut up. What? God. Fucking. Oath Keepers regional leader, part of Doug Mastriano's security team. Damn. Far-right extremist militia that played a significant role in the January 6th election. Mastriano has surrounded himself with a non-professional armed security team whose members include at least one person with direct ties to a militia group. Damn, he's actually got, like, brown shirts around him. He's actually got a little fucking brown shirt army. Jesus.
He'll back down those violent criminals, and he'll crack down on violent crime, end COVID mandates, protect Pennsylvania oil and gas workers, which right now, enjoy your job for another couple of months because you're not going to have it longer, and defend your jobs, your rights, and your freedoms. Doug is joined by an incredible person who I also got to know, because we were in a real fight with a lot of really sick, bad people. Rebbe, thank you very much. Thank you. Stand up. And she was a big part. She's a great partner to a man that will become one of the greatest governors in this country. Doug, please come up. Please come up.
Oh, looks like Jeff Bezos a bit. I don't think I've actually seen the guy before.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pennsylvania loves you and America needs you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for paving the way for people like me and everyone you see out here to fight for freedom. Thank you for taking the shots and standing bold.
Wow, he looks like a strip club owner who gets head from the dancers as an implicit part of them getting to continue to work there. He's got that aesthetic like spot on, especially the greasy, like the suit, the red shirt, no tie, unbuttoned, you know?
And leading by example. Pennsylvania is a keystone state. On 8 November, we're taking our state back by storm. That's right. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to be the state where people want to come to raise their families and to succeed in business. On day one, we're out of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. We're going to drill and dig like no tomorrow. That's right. That's right. We're going to do it. Oh, yeah. On day one, we're no longer a sanctuary state. So Joe Biden can have these illegals. We'll dump them off at his beach house where he spends all his time anyway. He can have them. On day one, we're going to have the backs of our beautiful law enforcement. On day one, there's no more mask requirement or...
Kind of weird how he keeps turning back around to look at Trump. Yeah.
COVID jab requirement. That's right. We're going to walk like free people like never before.
Like that,
Pennsylvania.
See?
This is where the light of liberty was lit in 1776. A new birth of freedom in 1863. And something very near and dear to both of our hearts. We're going to fight like hell for voting integrity, and we're going to start with voter ID. That's right. That's right. That's right. The left. My opponent is too dangerous, too extreme, and too radical for Pennsylvania. He can't even define what a woman is. I mean, the guy is nuts. Pennsylvania is less safe with his 6-year record of failure as Attorney General. That all ends on 8 November. Pennsylvania. The key to our nation starts with us. And let's not forget in 2001, and you were a champion on 9/11 2001, Mr. President, that he was. We saw him at the World Trade Center.
He is really bidding for Trump's approval here. This is, man.
Meanwhile, Flight 93 over Somerset County, the terrorists had it.
It's a champion of 9/11. You did a great job aiming that plane, Mr. President. Not one of the video recordings of that incident caught you parachuting down, jumping out of the plane just a few seconds before you. He was the guy who flew the plane into Tower 7. How good of a job did he do? Well, you didn't even see him.
Todd Beamer and other people on that plane took action. What did they say? Pennsylvania, let's roll. Thank you.
I think one of the things we need to learn most, or one of the things we need to most appreciate from the whole they can't even define a woman thing, is that there's no relationship at all between the definitions people on the left use to describe gender and what the right is going to do with it. You can spend all the time in the world constructing a perfectly cohesive, internally consistent, easily understandable definition of a woman, and it won't make a difference. As long as you support trans people, they're going to say you don't know what a woman is, because even if you came up with a definition that was perfect and bulletproof, which we have, they would look at it and go, yeah, but you're saying a man's a woman, so you don't even know what a woman is. Can't even define a woman. A woman is a woman. You're saying that a man's a woman, so you can't even define what a woman is. It doesn't matter. So this is kind of like and I've always been clear about this, this is like the limit of the debate bro mentality. Lodged firmly within the skulls of many people on the left, like, I don't know, a tumor or maybe a piece of shrapnel, is the delusional belief that a perfectly consistent, coherent, and understandable argument will move the fascist away from their positions. And it's just not true. It's simply not. At the end of the day, politics is about the acquisition of power, and it is the acquisition of power which allows you to defeat fascist movements, not constructing the perfect counterargument. The perfect counterargument can be effective at pulling over, vestiges, fringes, some people, maybe moderates, convince them, get them more anti-fascist. But at the end of the day, these people, you think any argument is going to get them to believe that trans women are women? Like, really, walk up to these people, think for a second, think what argument, what definition for a woman could you give them? The answer is no. Head trauma is a more likely, catalyst for that realization than any argument could be.
Doug said a lot in a few short sentences. One of the things he mentioned was voter ID. Now, the Democrats don't want voter ID. Actually, it's interesting. The leadership, the people want it 91%, Democrats, but the leaders don't want voter ID, okay? They'll think the only reason you don't want voter ID.
Oh, wait, I can demonstrate this perfectly. You guys remember how earlier in this very stream I had a debate with a Serbian nationalist? And the first half of the conversation was actually like trying to reason out positions and beliefs and what happened and this happened. And the second half was me making fun of him for being weaker than America. Important lessons to be learned here, you know. You do with arguments what arguments can do, and you do with vicious ad homing what vicious ad homing can do. In truth, it's not an ad hom. Ad hom is when you ignore an argument and make an insult in return. Simply insulting a person is just an insult. But ad homing is fun. You know, the term ad hom.
There's only one reason, because you want to cheat, right? That's the only reason. When you had the Democrat National Convention, the last one, they had signs on, the biggest signs, they were like billboards, pictures, fingerprints, everything. You couldn't get in. But the greatest thing happened over the last few days. Starbucks, remember Schultz, this guy Schultz? The one with the extremely thin legs. I think maybe Dr. Oz would have said he's either really good or very, very, very thin. But he was doing a debate, he was sitting down. I thought his legs, I didn't think he'd be able to stand up. But Schultz, he's the head of it. And he just announced unions are trying to take over Starbucks. But he will not, under any circumstance, allow mail-in voting because it's evil and corrupt. And the process can be corrupted. And yet, when he was running for president for about 3 days before he realized he couldn't win, took him about 2 days. But when he was running for president, he was talking about mail-in ballots. Now that he's got his company that he's got a nice piece of, he wants nothing to do with voting by mail-in ballots for unions.
I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. I'm sorry, I tried to follow that.
And it's easily corruptible. When are people going to get smart? Get rid of this mail-in voting. It's killing our country. All right, you'll do it. We're also joined tonight by the next congressman from Pennsylvania's 8th Congressional District, Jim Bognett. Jim, thank you very much, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Good luck. I hear you're doing well, Jim. Well, these two guys are going to help you a lot. Thank you, Jim. Great job. So Jim's running against radical Democrat socialist Matt Cartwright. That's another beauty. Who said he's all abroad, he is all on board for the Green New Deal, greatest waste of money in history. The Green New Deal, why don't you just throw the money right out the window? And he absolutely supports defunding the police and votes with Biden 100% of the time. So you know he can't be any good. Everybody get out and vote for Jim, okay? Jim Bognett.
Okay, so this is the third candidate here that is favored for the Democrats that Trump is out here repping for. It's no wonder this is a pretty huge campaign rally, and he's doing it to rep. Like, they need him here. Things are looking good for Fetterman, Shapiro, and Cartwright. Here, it's 2-to-1 margins at least for all of them. So you know, hopefully, yeah. See, Fetterman favored to win. What about PA7? Okay, PA7 leans a little bit red. Not crazy far though. If we go by just polls, then it's like 50-50. Huh. Can you imagine if we took the sweep, all 4 seats in Pennsylvania? That'd be pretty nice, huh? That'd be pretty good. Get the Senate, get the governor, get two of these House seats. Yeah. Worse things have happened.
Also with us, our Pennsylvania treasurer, a very good person, good woman, Stacey Garrity. Stacey, thank you. Where's Stacey? Hello, Stacey. Thank you, Stacey. Great job you're doing. A friend of mine, a warrior, never let me down, always been there. Representative Dan Muser. Dan, thank you. Great job. Great job. Thank you, Dan. And also Fred Keller, another warrior. Fred, stand up, Fred. What a good guy. Thank you for all your help. He comes to our defense. He gets out there, the two of them. Now, a woman is with us who's very silent, very shy, doesn't believe in using guns to protect yourself. Says anybody can come into my house anytime you'd like. No, she did a little ad. I saw her first time. And her ad was something to the effect, sure, anybody can come into my house. Ding, ding, ding. And then she took this gun. I never saw anybody use a gun. Boom, put it back. And she said, but he might not get out of my house alive. And I said, I think I like her. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Remember what I said about the emasculation thing being a big instigator for fascist belief? These people like wet dream every night about a black person breaking into their house so they can shoot them. I know that sounds like a joke, but I need you to understand the pathology of these people. It is 100% not a joke. It is fully and entirely not a joke. There's nothing comedic about it outside the absurdity of the premise. They want a legal precursor to deal with the degenerates and the drug dealers and the black people and so on themselves. They want to construct a scenario. That's why they buy so many guns. It's why they're so freakishly paranoid. You know, it all plays into this fantasy where they get to enact the law, because their ideology is one in which America is under siege by degenerates and criminals and so on. And they think that the cucked, bureaucratic, you know, legal system isn't doing enough. Like the cops do, they want to be able to act outside the restraints of the law and act, you know, vigilante justice, a la what they think the Punisher is, because they've never read a comic of the Punisher. So they fantasize about this.
A man I'm very proud of. He's got a tough race, but I'm very proud of him because you have a rhino governor in Maryland. His name is Larry Hogan. I think he wants to run for president. I think he wants to run for president. I said, you got to look in the mirror first. It's not going to work. Not going to work. But he's a real rhino, and he doesn't want this man.
What's the guy's name? Is he ugly?
All for our country. His name is Dan Cox, and he beat Larry Hogan's candidate by like 20 points with my endorsement. With my endorsement, and he's doing fantastically. Dan, congratulations. And Larry Hogan.
I don't think he's ugly. He's like an old guy. I actually think he looks relatively normal looking. If we're talking about like old white guys, Republican politicians. I mean, he's got like an egghead, but it's kind of endearing. He reminds me a little bit of like the guy from What We Do in the Shadows. You know? There are much more off-putting looking conservative old white guys by far.
Hogan, and
Like
this is my
guy.
fault. I'm sorry, Dan, but Larry Hogan is not going to be supporting you only because I am supporting you. So I don't know what that means, but I can tell you that Maryland has a great man running, and I hope you're going to do well, and we'll be out there helping you. Okay? Thank you very much. Good. I have a feeling you do very well. A friend of mine who's a great businessman and a great person, Mr. Woody Johnson, and his wife, Suzanne Johnson. Where is Woody? Stand up, Woody. He's shy. They own a very small company named Johnson & Johnson. Does anybody like Johnson? I want to own a piece of that company, too. Great job. We love you both. And Cynthia Hughes and Gina Perno with the Patriot Freedom Project. What a job they do. Where are you?
All right, I think we're just shouting out people at this point. Please, God, let me eat food. Hold on.
Sexual, racial, and political material on our children from the youngest possible age. At long last, every parent in America must be empowered to opt out of the indoctrination and send their child to the public, private, charter, religious, or home school of their choice.
There you go. Continue isolating their base from reality by encouraging them to join up with schools that teach different curriculums or homeschools.
In addition, we will get critical race theory the hell out of our schools, out of our military, and out of every part of our federal, state, and local governments, just like I did 2 years ago. It was out. We had it out.
What?
But they
He
put it
didn't
right
do
back
anything.
in. We will also keep
What?
men out of women's sports.
There we go.
You know those stories that I tell? I love to tell those stories. The woman swimmer. Should I tell it again? Should I not? You want me to?
Of course they
Mr. Wall,
want to hear
stand up,
it.
Wall, please. This is Mr. Irving Q. Wall. Look. No, it's so ridiculous. And you know, it's not politically correct, and a lot of people are afraid to talk about it, but I'm not. Men in women's sports. So you have the swimmer, who's I met her the other day, very high-quality swimmer, and she's going to break the record. She's worked like hell. She's worked all her life. The big meet is on, and she looks to the left, and she sees all of those great athletes that she's been fighting for years. She looks to the right, and she sees, but next to her is this massive human being. She's looking up. Isn't he like 6'6" or something? He's got a wingspan bigger than Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt was small by comparison. And she looked over. I've never seen her before.
8 feet tall. What? Bigger than Welch? What's he talking about? He's talking about Leah Thomas. There's a big lady, sure, but you know, yeah, bigger than Wilt Chamberlain. If only. If only. She turned to her right, and she saw the ankle of the giant who was standing next to her, 500 feet tall.
Anyway, she wanted to break that record. She fought so hard to do it. And the race started, and as you know, she was severely injured. She was injured by windburn because he went by her so fast. The wind burned the hell out of her. And she didn't quite make it that day for the record, but he did. He broke the record by 38 seconds. You know, usually you break it by... She wanted to break it by 1/8 of a second. But he was far better than her. He broke it by 38 seconds.
Now,
That's
Leah
one that
sounds
no
kind of
woman's ever
fucking
gonna catch, you
cool.
don't think. And then the better one is the weightlifter. You had a woman. She's going to lift the 213 pounds, and she's going to... That's a lot of weight. You think I could lift... Oz, you think I could lift 213 pounds? I don't know. And she got up, and she was going to break it. They put it 1/2 ounce and 1/2 ounce. They had these big barbells and dumbbells, and she's up there, and she pulls it up, and she's going to do it. Couldn't do it. She was ashamed, but she couldn't do it. And then this person comes in. You know, they actually call it, it's the correct term, a person in a man's body. That's what they call it. This is supposed to be politically correct. I hope it is, otherwise they'll be very rude to me. The fake news will be very rude. So this guy walks up. They asked him before, did you lift before? No, not too much. And he gets up. Bing. That was the end of that record. It's ridiculous.
I don't even know what incident he's referring to here at all. It's probably completely made up.
Ridiculous. And no teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent. Another
There you
one of
go.
our highest priorities under
That's what gets the applause right there. Teaching transgender.
a Republican Congress will be to stop left-wing censorship and to restore free speech.
Literally adjacent to each other. We need to force our educators to not teach a certain part of the curriculum. Next sentence. We need to stop the censorship of the left. Again, there's no reasoning with these people. Nothing more than a vicious and overwhelming demonstration of political power through the mass arrest of people complicit in the attempted overthrow of our democracy can rid our country of this plague. It'll take a long time, but I believe the American people are ready for... Wait, what is it called again? I've lost my momentum. I'm pretty hungry. What was it called again? Reconstruction. The American people are ready for Reconstruction 2. The second Reconstruction, it will be tremendous. The American people have earned the right to rid conservatives from government.
In America, which we don't have. We don't have free speech. Go out and sign up now, by the way, for Truth Social. Anybody on Truth Social? It's like, it's hot, and it's much better than Twitter. You see what's going on with Twitter? Twitter's not doing too well. Frankly, if we didn't have truth, we wouldn't be able to get the word out like we do. We get the word out fast. The radical left Democrat Party is not, in my opinion, a 50% party within our country. They're against God, guns, oil, law enforcement, voter ID, tax cuts, regulation cuts, the Constitution, and they're against our founding fathers. Other than that, actually, they're quite good. The way they win is to cheat in elections. I really believe that. How can you be against all of those things and for some of the things that they're for and be considered a 50-50 party? I don't believe it. They cheat like hell on elections all over the country, and they're really good at it. Everywhere the Republican Party has the chance, we must pass
If only
election
Republicans were
integrity
better at
reforms,
proving
including
it.
universal voter ID, citizenship confirmation. No more fake drop boxes by Zuckerberg and these people. No private money pouring into local election offices. And ultimately, we need same-day voting with only paper ballots. It's very simple. Same-day voting. Same day, paper. France just had an election, big country, 35 million people. Same-day voting, all paper ballots. The election ended at 11 o'clock. They had the vote. That was it. Nobody walked away complaining. Right here in Pennsylvania, Democrats are still trying hard to rig your elections. Act 77 clearly violates your state constitution, encouraging widespread abuse of mail-in ballots. And your radical left state Supreme Court just violated the Constitution a second time by overturning a decision by an unbiased lower court. Republicans in the state legislature need to get to work immediately to kill Act 77 by a state constitutional amendment. They have to do it immediately. We are just 2 months away from the most important midterm election in American history.
Referring to the Pennsylvania mail-in voting laws upheld by the state Supreme Court here. Allowing all voters in key swing states to cast ballot by mail. 5-2 decision released. Yeah.
And we need a landslide so big that the radical left just cannot rig it. You know, the more we win by, it gets harder, 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 harder. They can cheat a lot, but once you get to a certain level, it gets very hard. This is the year. We're going to take back the House. We're going to take back the Senate. We're going to take back America. Take back America. Right? And in 2024, most importantly, we are going to take back our magnificent White House. Together, we will fight for more jobs for Pennsylvania families, fair trade for Pennsylvania workers, and more Pennsylvania factories forging more products stamped with those beautiful, beautiful words, made in the USA, right? Made in the USA. We will shut down Biden's border disaster, reinstitute our strong Remain in Mexico policy. How good was that? Remain in Mexico. You think it was easy for me to get Remain in Mexico from Mexico, but I got it. I said, you don't give it to me, you're going to pay big tariffs on your cars. Oh, we'd love to give it to you. Strengthen the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol. They're patriots and they're great. We will again end catch and release. We will end chain migration. We will end the visa lottery. And we will clamp down on illegal immigration, just like we did less than 2 years ago when we had the safest border in our country's history. We will stop the crime wave in Democrat-run cities. We will give our police the power they need and the respect they deserve. And we will not take legal protection away from our police. These maniacs want to have the police officers go out and hire lawyers so they can defend themselves. We won't do that. We will restore law and order in America, and we will override governors that don't look for law and order. We will hold China accountable for unleashing the virus upon the world.
Override governors.
We will protect innocent life. We will defend our Constitution. We will defend the Second Amendment. And we will proudly uphold the Judeo-Christian values and principles of our nation's founding.
And that's where they really go wild.
We will restore patriotic education to our schools. And we will teach our children to love their country, honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag.
So, again, obviously I've gone over all this before, but this is a Nazi speech. It is. There's really not that much nuance to it. Every single part of this speech is constructed to maximize the principles of fascism that are put forward. The only difference is that instead of Jews specifically, we have the sort of nebulous cultural Marxist liberal academics that represent same position in terms of the conspiratorial hierarchy. But yeah, no, it essentially just is. It's really that simple, you know. And that's why I've said again, you know, it's not enough just to beat these guys at the polling booth. They simply must not exist politically. There should be no room in American elections, no room in our political body for us to coexist with ideologies such as these. Democracy does not need to tolerate anti-democratic candidacy. You know, the people, the Republican people, they'll be better for it. It's not like they benefit from any of this shit. It's not like their lives are being made better. White supremacy has never been about elevating the white man. It's been about bringing down everyone else. Transphobia doesn't elevate cis people. It just brings down trans people. Nativism and xenophobia doesn't bring up native residents. It brings down immigrants. You know, they're not benefiting from this. They're being hurt by it. They cheer as they hear that their land will continue to be raped by fracking, chemicals poured into their water. And they boo when they hear about investment in green energy. It is for their betterment. Free speech is not truly free when it is drowned out in white noise and nonsensical anti-truth. No, there should be no place for this at all.
In conclusion, our MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, is by far the greatest political movement in the history of our country. Together, we are standing up against some of the most menacing forces, entrenched interests, and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. Despite great outside dangers, our biggest threat remains the sick, sinister, and evil people from within our own country. But no matter how big or powerful the corrupt, radical left Democrats are, and they are corrupt and they are powerful, we have to make them much less powerful. We will never allow anyone to forget that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home, this is your heritage, and our American liberty is your God-given right. From Allentown to Johnstown, from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh, and from Philadelphia to Scranton, PA, we stand on the shoulders of American legends who poured out their blood, sweat, and tears for our rights and for our freedom. They were so great. Pennsylvania is where our founding fathers declared American independence. It's where the Army weathered its brutal winter at Valley Forge, where General George Washington led his men on a daring mission across the Delaware, and where our Union was saved by immortal heroes at Gettysburg. And this is the state where generations of tough, strong Pennsylvania miners, factory workers, and steel workers forged the greatest nation in the history of the world.
Surprised by the Gettysburg comment, but I'm not surprised it didn't draw any cheers.
But now we are a nation in decline. We are a nation that is failing. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in over 50 years, and where the stock market just finished the worst first half of the year since 1872. Likewise, we are a nation that has the highest energy costs in its history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant, as we just were 2 short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and many others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold right under our feet than any other country in the world. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal will lead to our destruction. We are a nation that is surrendering all over, but in particular to Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your commander-in-chief, and for 4 long years, it didn't happen. Never happened. And China, with Taiwan, is next. We are a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and a Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting, irregularities, and fraud. And we have a president who is cognitively impaired and in no condition to lead our country, and everybody knows it. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are truly the enemy of the people. We are a nation where free speech...
So again, like, it's a Nazi speech. Like, I feel like I'm being a hack here for not, like, laying into it, but it's so straightforwardly a Nazi speech that there's not really much to, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I've said this before, but the big difference I've noticed in Trump supporters over the past 3.5 years of doing this is that back when I first started streaming, I felt like I could argue with Trump supporters who had an earnest belief in the wrong things they believed, and you could talk about it with them. They wouldn't always agree with you. In fact, overwhelmingly, they would stick to their bad beliefs, you know. But they would, you could actually have a convo with them. Like, they would talk about immigration policy. Like, you could read a document on, like, what effects have been had. What has Trump's tax policy done for this or that, you know? But it's not like that anymore. I haven't had those conversations in a long time. You all know that. I have a public stream. Public figures who support Trump don't act like that. They are too far gone. It's gone beyond that point. January 6th was the turning point. Now, when you disagree with a Trump supporter, they return immediately to thought-terminating cliches, screaming at you with, you know, spit-frothed lips, or they laugh at you because they, as the fascist is, are willing to play with words, and they can't hold in their delight as they revel in your efforts to try to correct them as they dance between mutually exclusive points at their convenience. You all know I'm right, don't you? Am I not? You agree with me. You have to, because it's true. We've all seen it. They've always been wrong, but there used to be, in Trump supporters, a generally authentic set of beliefs, wrong as they were authentically held, that could be criticized, torn apart, if needed. But now that's just not the case. Now they are full-blown cultists. They have not taken their normal pills. They can hear anything from their betters and they will believe it. They are not interested in reconciling with empirical reality. And I will not see this country and this democracy torn apart because we are too weak to do something about it. You know, democracies aren't conditional. Democracy is non-negotiable. It is not a democracy until the fascists get dedicated enough. It is a democracy unerringly and eternally. Something has to be done about this. And it's not just going to be winning the election. You win an election, they'll keep talking about it. Right now, CNN is being pulled to the right after a corporate buyout. They're trying to appeal more to conservatives and have immediately begun publishing articles of dubious quality and value in line with that ideological shift. As long as the right is aligned with corporate media, which they always will be, and corporations broadly to the extent that, you know, they have the ability to affect political outcomes, the right, and by right I mean the fascists, will continue to have this prominence in our media and in our culture. Do we just sacrifice civilization on the altar of what? Abstemiousness? Of meekness? Do we just get to say, oh, well, human civilization as a concept was worthwhile, but I guess it's over now, you know. People with money have decided to work with people who know how to build political cults, and now that they've managed to do that, it's really just a matter of time. We'll just let them win, you know. There's nothing we can do. No, democracy is non-negotiable. These people have to go.
Is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant like never before, where the economy has been collapsing, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than did in 2020. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon, which they are incredibly being allowed to do right now in China, to use trillions and trillions of dollars that is taken from us to build a military to rival our own. And just 2 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everybody knows it. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to around the world. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. We are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, and faith. We are a nation whose economy is floundering, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every single list. But we are not going to let this continue. 2 years ago, we had the greatest election that we've ever had, but it was taken away from us. We weren't allowed to use the power of the people to make America great again. 2 years ago, we also had greatness like no one had ever seen. And soon we will have that greatness again. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will stand up to the radical left lunatics and the rhinos, and we will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. There is no mountain we cannot climb. There is no summit we cannot reach. There is no challenge we cannot meet. There is no victory we cannot have. We will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield. We will never give in, we will never give up. We will never, ever, ever back down. As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a chance, because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. My fellow citizens, this incredible journey we are on together has only just begun, and it is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious American nation. So with the help of everyone here today and citizens all across our land, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy.
Oh, I thought for one glorious sec. Wait, oh wait, the video feed
We
is
will
still.
make
Oh, okay,
America
sure.
proud again.
They had to cut that part
We
when
will
he said
make
the N-word.
America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Truly fantastic stuff. An existential threat to all of humanity, and anything that could be done to bar him and everyone like him from political power would be justified. The damage that could be done through these people maintaining power is essentially incalculable. All right, nice hustle, everyone. Right, great, we did it. We watched the entire thing. And did we not grow as people for the experience? Reminded now that we all are that fascists are in fact bad and very real. I want to cry. Reality is actually a parody. Yeah. Is he selling doomerism? Not to his people. He's selling hope to the people who support him. That's the entire pretext. Everything is lined up exactly the same way. The idea of a national humiliation, of the silent majority supporting him, inflation rampant, degeneracy rampant, him, the strong man, coming at the pretext of Christian nationalism rising up to bring unity and glory to America. You know, everything is set up. Everything is lined up. And remember that while positive electoral outcomes are not sufficient to rid our country of the scourge of fascism, you too can participate in delaying their onslaught by participating in the Progressive Victory 2022 campaign. You can go on to vaush.gg/map. You can choose to enter this information if you want. None of it is kept publicly, and also you can't be doxed by it because you only have to enter your email and zip code because it would add you to an email list that would give you opportunities to canvas nearby. You can join the Discord server down here, which already has 8,000 people who have signed up, who have been doing canvassing, who have been doing phone banking, who have been doing text banking, people who got the opportunity to listen to Jamal Bowman's talk specifically, them people who have joined up with Justice Dem canvassing and campaigning events. People like you. You can join. You can get in there. You can help. And you can use a separate email. That's right. How could European help? How can Europeans help? Kill yourself so that Americans are a higher proportion of the world's population. No, don't do that. I have no idea what Europeans can do. Probably not much. For the rest of you, though, who are still alive, thank you. Join up. Oh, now you're all pretending to care about Europeans. Okay. I already got the noose. I will not eat the bug. I will not sleep in the pod. I will not like the stream. Hey, I will join Progressive Victory 2022 on vaush.gg/map. Absolutely. Absolutely. Goddamn right.